NASCAR may be cooling off this weekend, but the stove, it's plenty hot. We talk the best season of all, silly season, as well as update you on our season-long bets tonight on the Backroad.
I don't drive a Monte Carlo, and my truck ain't painted black. It ain't got a big white number 3 turning left around the track. Let's go!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. My name is Elliot Hicks, and I'm excited to welcome back to the show our guy, Chris Collichio. Excited to talk a little silly season content and a lot more with you tonight, my man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. It's been a long, I think 7-8 weeks probably since I've been on here, but I've been trying to tune in when I can. So it feels good to be back. I was just telling you beforehand, I had to dust off some of the equipment because it's been so long. I had some issues, so just glad to be here and excited to talk about silly season. I think I made you guys wait a few weeks for this just so I could be on here because I just love talking silly season.
But it worked out perfectly because there's been a lot of dominoes that have fallen from when we were kind of sort of starting to think about it, late spring, early summer, to where we sit now. So the off week is the perfect time to break all that down. In tonight's show, we'll take you through in the rear view, talk about the weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IRP. Then in our Fast Lap news, we will break down silly season and what's to come in 2027 and beyond. And in our parking garage props, we'll update you on how our season-long bets are doing. For better or for worse, we've already cashed a couple. Maybe we've already added a couple. Excited to still be able to talk some bets during the off week. Easiest way to support us, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all of you live on YouTube. We got our guy Marcus even tuning in during the off week. The kid takes pride in being first, and I appreciate him each and every week, man. Marcus is bringing the energy. Throw it in the comments. Who's your pick to win the Cup Championship, the off week? Good time to reset. Only a handful of races left for each series before we get to the chase. I think 4 in the Cup, even less in the lower series. And hey, what are your plans during the off weekend? Marcus, of course, pulling for Bell to win the Cup title. Plan to play video games during the NASCAR off weekend. That's not a bad plan. I don't know how much of a gamer you are, Chris, but I've got every once in a while the NASCAR 25 on the Xbox behind me, NASCAR 26 coming out in a couple of months, and even got the PS2 dusted off. Been rocking some NASCAR 06 lately in my free time.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot harder to play video games being a dad of 2, but the one game I will when I have time for dust off is the NASCAR 25 from last year. I just actually put in our Discord earlier about how NASCAR 26, the preseason or the pre-orders open today. I've already done that. So yeah, when it comes to gaming, I'm pretty much NASCAR or college football. So those are my 2.
Yeah, I still need to try the new college football, with the third one's already out, and I haven't played any of the 3 yet. So shows how far I am behind 2, even though I am -2 in the child count compared to you. But hey, congratulations on everything, man, and we are happy to have you back and stoked to be talking some racing here. Like I said, shout out our live viewers. Shout out to those watching afterward. I know some of our IBT racing family, with the change to Wednesday night once again, that, hey, it was supposed to work better for Seth too, but, things happen. Hope those Chevys run a little better for you and your family there, Seth. Shout out to everyone listening to the audio editions as well. Leave us a review on whatever platform you choose to listen on, because we certainly enjoy the feedback. All right, without further ado, man, let's talk the Indianapolis race weekend in the rear view.
Baby, that's how you do it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You are the fans. No way! We did it! Yeah!
Got to start with the Brickyard 400 from Indianapolis, because I tweeted this out right after it happened Sunday. This run that Corey Heim is on has got to be the most unpredictable and insane run that I've seen in my 20 years watching NASCAR. You don't see these part-time guys win multiple races in a season. The 2 of the 3 or 4 crown jewelish events we've run this year, a kid who's made 15 Cup starts and he's already won 2 of them. Shows just what a talent he really is. And seems like he made the right decision sticking with 2311, because even that part-time outfit with good old Booty Barker on the box can get you some race wins nowadays.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what we're seeing. And like in the model, I typically pull in that like momentum rating. Corey Heim, he was number one even before this past week. Like he was number one coming in, just the 2 races he had done in the past 6 race sample. Now, I mean, he's sporting an average finish of 3.7 and 2 wins over the last 3 races, which is just phenomenal. I will say though, one thing I've heard on a lot of podcasts this week is how much time he has to prepare for all these races, which I think is very beneficial for him. But still, as bettors, we got to take note of that because, I mean, it's clear that when he has the time to put in and hit the talent he has behind that car and the speed for that team, he's a player, man. Like he's going to be around for the rest of the season. It's going to be really fun to see what he does next year.
Yeah, it is nice. They're able to kind of cherry pick his schedule, but it's worked out well for him. I think his next race is Daytona. I think I'm going to probably have to slap the outright on that no matter what it is because this kid just can't stop winning. We'll talk more about kind of how that all gets put together for next year. This year, though, has certainly gone really well. I love another chapter, too, in the Heim versus Hocevar rivalry. In Indianapolis, with how hard it is to pass, we'll talk about the racing in a minute, too. Coming on the pit cycles, even if you're on the older tires, you got to keep anybody and everybody behind you because it is so damn hard to pass. So Heim and Hocevar have a little bit of that back and forth. And then down pit road, Hocevar all the way down and throws a little bird out the window there. What do you think about this rivalry? And I'm sure you're excited as I am to see how it'll continue as the years go on because they're both going to be damn fast. I looked at the standings. Hocevar is 5th in the points. That's not a flash in the pan. That's real talent for him and Spire. And Heim making the chase next year, there's a conversation of, is he going to make the chase? Is he not? I think he's a slam dunk chase guy. Either way, man, it is going to be a fun rivalry to watch as the years go on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and he's got a few budding rivalries, right? Like it's him and Heim, it's him and Zane Smith. So it's really fun to kind of see how these are all kind of coming about. But I mean, obviously the one that'll be the most on the radar will be this dude, Heim and Hocevar. I do love how Heim pointed out on I think it was DBC. He made the comment of like, if there's one place you don't flick somebody off is like when they're coming down pit road. He's like, I had no idea. He's like, I'm focusing on like my lights, the lines, like my brake zones. Like he's like, I had no idea you even did that, but I don't think Hocevar really cares. It's more for just like the clicks, the views, the what we're doing now, like the talking about it, right? So hey, it makes it more fun, truthfully. Like I know there's so many opinions out there on Hocevar, but I love it. Like I just love the fact that we have like another quote unquote villain in the sport that's kind of creating all these storylines and making it fun too. Like the fact that Hocevar just has so much fun on the track too. Like he just genuinely does not care. He's out there just living his best life. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic for the sport.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's fast. He's out there dating TikTok influencers, going to the Met Gala, going to time banquets. The man is living the life, and it's only going to be good for NASCAR. What's not so good for NASCAR is Indianapolis's racing still is not that great. There's many a stat out there that green flag passes, whether for the lead or otherwise, are very few and far between. It definitely is a track position race, but I've seen a lot of comparisons too, and I kind of like this too. Formula One is always going to race at Monaco, and it's never really going to be a great race compared to the rest. And I'm kind of okay with that with Indianapolis. It's a historic track, the most historic in America. You can make the argument for Daytona or whatever, but Indy 500 is the race that's going to get you going in the U.S. And NASCAR racing on the oval, there's package things you can do, there's car things you can do. I don't think we can take the Brickyard 400 away again, though.
No, and I'm 100%. I'm like very glad that you're on this side of the argument because I was going to come in here pretty heavy on this topic. Yeah, I mean, I know, like, I get it. The racing sucks there. It's not fun to watch. Can you argue it should be a crown jewel? Sure. But I still think, A, we're still going to race there, and B, I still think it's a crown jewel. It's just there's too much history at that track. There's too much history in this event in general, this venue. I think Denny put it best of like, it's not about how good the racing is there. It's about how bad the drivers want to win it. And the drivers still want to win this race. It's still very important to them to win this race. It's the only one that Denny hasn't won that he really wants. So yeah, I mean, frankly, what it comes down to is like, I think NASCAR's focus right now is they're trying to fix super speedways. Once they fix super speedways, I think they got to come back to Indy because we've now fought tracks to an extent, right? We're getting closer where they're trying to fix super speedways. Next up, try to fix Indy. We got to do something about this just to make it a little bit more appeasing. But I hate to tell the fans out there, it's not going anywhere despite your 24% on Jeff Gluck's poll. It's going to be around.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as Monaco in F1. Like I said, it's not always going to be the best race, but everyone wants to win Monaco. Everyone wants to win Indianapolis, and it really doesn't matter. I do appreciate NASCAR's willingness. They have a good order of operations here. Short tracks were really dying, and they've really brought them back. There's 6 super speedway races and only 1 Indianapolis. So again, a good order of operations there. But yeah, they need to do something to make it more entertaining, but it's not going away. We do see more entertaining races, though, in the lower series. Let's talk about the bets first. We were able to hit a couple of cup bets, couple of smaller cards for us. Meant a small win for me, but I hit the Joey Logano over William Byron at plus 125, and that was my matchups contest pick too. And to be honest with you, man, I kind of want that just as much as I want the bets to hit because it got me one closer to getting back to the lead. And you were able to cash some pretty good bets as well.
Yeah. Before I get to my bets, though, I was on the other side of your matchup, which sucks because that's the second time I've done that this year, and you beat me both times, so that sucks for me. But bets, I hit a William Byron over Ryan Blaney bet, which honestly had no business cashing until Blaney got into that scuffle and got pushed to the back. So I was lucky to get that one, but then I've hit probably the biggest ticket I've ever hit in my entire life. I hit the fastest lap on Corey Heim at 100-1, which I only placed because I woke up at 4 a.m. on Saturday or Sunday morning, whatever that was, and just saw that market was posted and was like, this is cool. I'm going to hit a few of these. Ended up saving my day. So if it wasn't for that, it would have been a pretty bad day for me, but that gave me a small positive outlook for the weekend. So
I'm assuming that was child-related business. Take some of that money and get the kid a new toy or something.
Yeah, right. Some of my friends text me, they were like, that's some good diaper money.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about toys and stuff. You got to get the essentials first. We didn't even talk about, speaking of money, the Gillionaire, Todd Gilliland. I think his average finish throughout the in-season challenge was P19, and he goes and wins the whole thing. But that's really what something like this is all about. It's how Ty Dillon got to the final last year, and it's how Todd Gilliland got there this year, is just run kind of where you are and don't screw anything up. And a lot of times people will screw things up for you and help you out. And that's kind of what happened his last three matchups. You know, Bowman ran a lap ahead of Gilliland at when was that, Atlanta, and then Bowman crashes late. Gilliland wins that one. Alex Bowman again kind of screws over his teammate Chase Elliott. Todd Gilliland finishes P6 or whatever at Wilkesboro, and now Ryan Blaney gets caught up in some crap at the end and puts Gilliland ahead. But hey, he's the one with the money, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Gilly too. Like I think it's cool. Like I'm glad they do something like this, and you can see lower equipment still prevail because it's huge for them. Like this is going to be massive for Front Row to have $1 million in their back pocket. Like that's not something that everybody can just win on any other basis, right? It's so hard for them to make up that ground. So I like it in the sense that I know it's a little wonky, but so is March Madness, and we all love March Madness, right? So I do. I think I also heard Denny say this week like he wishes NASCAR would do something like a perfect bracket for the fans and do some sort of payout to get more people. And that's an easy way to get more eyes on the sport is like, hey, a perfect bracket will pay you $1 million and we'll get more eyes on the sport that way.
I do think I don't know if they have it as a contest, but I do think they publicize something like that. Maybe I'm thinking of last year, or maybe I am misremembering it with the Denny bracket challenge a year before it became official.
I think you're right. I think, but I think it was Dirty Mo Media that did that. It wasn't NASCAR itself.
Got it. Okay. So NASCAR just needs to pony up a little bit, but it's a great thing for those smaller teams, like you said, because especially now where you don't have the win and in, this time last year, or any of the last decade before that, these teams that are mid-20s in points, they could still say, hey, I got 4 more weeks to go win our way into the playoffs. That's not a thing anymore. The 34 team is not making the chase, but this still gave them something to race for. And it kind of changes their whole season, right? Like they're probably not going to win a race. Their points finish is not going to be great, but Gilliland has done enough to come back and they get $1 million. It really changes their whole season outlook, I feel like.
Oh, 100%. And I also love the critics out there that are calling it the court money, like the lawsuit money, like, that prevailed again, like for Toyota all season. And now all of a sudden FRM gets the win here. But I mean, hey, you said it right. An average finish of P19. I don't think that was the lawsuit money. That was just a stroke of luck that went his way.
Yep, it worked out, and he'll cry all the way to the bank. And wherever he's on vacation, just like everybody in the industry is, with the I think the only off week of the year for all 3 series stacked together. So really nice of them to be able to do that in the summertime. Let's touch on the lower series races as well. The O'Reilly Series, Carson Kvapil finally gets his first career win, holds off Allgaier, does a burnout on the bricks, but I don't care. Kid has waited this long to get his first win. They were able to clean it up just fine. Trucks were over at IRP. Lane Riggs absolutely dominated, and Front Row Motorsports really is, just whipping everybody's ass in these short track races. Any thoughts on the 2 lower series races from the weekend?
I'm just really happy for Kvapil, honestly. I mean, like I know we'll talk about it in a little bit when we get to silly season, but I think that this win proved to be more instrumental than we even know. Like I think it almost sounded like Junior was hinting at the fact that like if Kvapil didn't get a win this season, he might not have a seat next year. So, I mean, that adds even more to the fact that like how awesome that is for that team, for him as a driver, and to have that celebration, and then to have, kind of be shit on for going over the bricks. But like, he quite literally just saved his job. So yeah, I'm really happy for him. And on top of that, JRM 1, 2, 3, 4, that's incredible too. So that team is certainly hitting strides at the right time. And then Lane Riggs, yeah, man. I mean, we'll probably talk about him in a second too for silly season, but that 34 truck is, I mean, FRM in general in the truck series is on rails. It's like the last 2 weeks, right? I mean, they are just hitting their stride. So cool for those guys. And I kind of wish, speaking of NASCAR 25, I wish IRP was a track that we could run cup cars on, because that'd actually be kind of fun. And you can't do that on NASCAR 25. So NASCAR 26, guys, I need you guys to make that happen.
Yeah, I just wonder if now there's some weird thing with the licensing, because even the heat games that came out right before these ones, they had all the tracks in there. You could run Cup up at Mosport in Canada. You could run, you could run any of the asphalt series anywhere, and they even had dirt tracks in there too. And it's just not around in these. And there's not any of the alcohol sponsors. They did NASCAR 25. Yeah. They did like half of the year as DLC, and then just the entire second half of the year with paint schemes they completely ignored. There's just a little more that I definitely want to see out of that.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like 26 we're going to get a lot more, so hopefully it'll be better.
I hope so. Hey, I know we can run San Diego and we can hear Freddie Kraft in our ear, so another option there is the spotters. As much fun as we could have with a video game podcast here, I know that's not what everybody is here for. We are here to talk about silly season and all the things that are to come. Let's get to it in our Fast Lap news. So in kind of the second half of this, we'll go through more team-by-team specific breakdowns, talk about more speculation, things like that. But we'll discuss the biggest, most recent storylines that have come out generally in just the last couple of days. First off, not a silly season thing, but really cool gesture that Jimmie Johnson will run the number 48 in the 2027 Daytona 500. Not the car. He'll take the number over to Legacy and run it over there. First of all, this is really awesome from Hendrick Motorsports, everybody involved. Second of all, Lowe's, you need to be the sponsor of this car. I don't care what they had planned. I know Jimmie, I don't know if this was a false flag knowing this would happen, but a month or so ago, didn't he say something like, oh, my capital investment partners really love the number 13. I think I'm going to run the number 13. That would have been a bunch of crap. As much as we see, and this happens across all of sports, you see guys have their prime with like one team, one number, one sponsor, whatever, and then they go off in their last couple of years or something entirely different, and it just feels kind of icky. And I mean, 84 Legacy, they've done well by it, but Jimmie's last race coming in the number 48, going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more about Lowe's. And to just add more fuel to the fire here, just being someone who lives in Charlotte, I can tell you that NASCAR headquarters is right above the NASCAR Museum in Charlotte. And if you just go a few blocks down the road is the Lowe's headquarters. It is not hard for somebody to go down there and have a conversation and make this happen. So it needs to happen. But yeah, there's no other way that for it to be his last official race, right? I know we've technically already had the farewell tour for Jimmie, but to be a last race at Daytona in the 48 and the low scheme is just going to be really cool. And then on top of that, right, Alex Bowman, it's going to be his farewell season too, which I know we're about to get to. But it'll be cool to see what number he runs as well for this race, because there's been rumors that they might let him run like the 55, which he runs in dirt, or they might bring back the 25 for like the throwback scheme that who used to run that for them? Was it
they had a few guys. I think you had, Casey Mears won that Coke 600 in the 25. You had good old Brian Vickers a couple of years.
Vickers, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Back in the day, you had Kenny Schrader, and then the guy who I know Bowman is a big fan of. He was a big Tim Richmond guy. So if they do run the 25, I do think that is probably they're going to go in some kind of Tim Richmond direction. Hopefully, 55 is the ABR number. I've seen some things floating out there. Maybe they'll run 46 and film stuff for Days of Thunder. I don't know about that and how involved they'll be at a Daytona 500. But I guess we'll see. And that does lead to the next point. Alex Bowman announcing he will retire from full-time Cup racing after the 2027 season. Over the next year and a half, you will hear it from me many times about this Bowman thing or that Bowman thing or this memory, that memory. Before I get into it, I will give you the floor first on Alex Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I listened to that interview he did with Gluck, and I think that there's a lot of things in there he said that I think we kind of knew, but at the same time, maybe it was new to me just because maybe I'm not following him as closely as you do, but he doesn't really seem like he was in love with the sport. Like he liked racing, but he wasn't in love with it. So he was always okay with walking away whenever he felt like it was his time. So the fact that he mentions like how he's just prioritizing his health, prioritizing things he wants to do in life outside of racing, whether that be travel, family, whatever he means there. He did talk about how he wants to do a lot more with his dirt program, which I think is something that he's always kind of, dabbled in, and been pretty good at too. So, I mean, honestly, I think we all knew it was coming. I think this is the best way for him to do it. Like, you're not going to get anything better than a Hendrick ride. I don't think he was going to get anything better. I don't think he wanted to step down. So I like it. Like, just go out on top. Like, this gives you a year and a half to really just enjoy it, have fun, and just really live it up. And I mean, I also think, again, kind of getting back to the silly season talk a little bit, I think that this is best case scenarios for Hendrick too, because they don't have to worry about rushing anybody. They can kind of wait, play out their options. So I do wonder if that played into a little bit, if like maybe he wanted to retire at the end of this season, but they kind of pushed him. It's like, hey, can we just have you for one more year? But yeah, I mean, other than that, man, I think that it feels too short that Bowman's leaving already. He's leaving the sport already, but at the same time, I think it's an appropriate time for him to go, like, on his own number.
Yeah, I think this time frame works better for HMS because of a certain Chevrolet driver that we'll talk about in a few minutes that has his contract up. In terms of Bowman, I do love he's going to continue to race drift cars, stay in the Hendrick building with their performance and the stuff outside of stock car racing. I know he loves the dirt car. Just don't go out there and break your back again. And to be honest, Alex does love the dirt stuff. I honestly think if you gave him a choice, would you rather win a cup championship or win the Chili Bowl? I kind of think he takes the Chili Bowl. So really cool that he'll have a second chapter. And yeah, those 3 bullet points that he talked about, and I'm really stoked in it. It really shows why this guy became a favorite for me. Is number one, he's sticking to his plan from the very beginning. When he first was able to join HMS, which, again, the fact he's able to get from getting fired from Tommy Baldwin's on a parking lot in Taco Bell, scrolling it on Twitter. There's that clip of him and Alan Cavana that same year saying, hey, I'm never going to get a call from HMS. To then be, I think, the 6th longest tenured HMS driver, get all the wins he did, be able to go out on your own terms. But anyway, he says that was the decision he made. It was always going to be kind of in these couple of years. He wants to do more outside of just being a Cup Series driver, and he wants to, be a dad, have a family. Doesn't want to bring home all the bad that comes with Cup racing back home to a family. He's engaged, building a house in North Carolina, so that's really neat as well. And yeah, it all. There's just so many thoughts flowing through my mind with this. Obviously, man, after Dale Earnhardt Jr., I didn't really know if I was going to be a fan of anybody else quite as strongly. 2016, Bowman is subbing in at Phoenix, leads 1 million laps, almost wins the race. And I've been a fan of his ever since. You could consider me even more of a Bowman fan than a Dale Jr. fan. So I'm stoked he's able to go out on his own terms. And you said something else too, that now we can all just enjoy this. There's no more pressure of you need to win or you're going to get thrown out. Every time Corey Day does something good, now I don't have to be like, oh man, this my guy out of the car. It's just we're able to kind of all just release and be like, man, we're going to get to enjoy these last 52 races or whatever, and go out on your own terms. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully we get to victory lane one more time. And yeah, like I said, throughout the next year and a half, I'm going to annoy the shit out of everybody with all of the other Bowman notes that I have. And it's the last time I'll get to do it. And then you won't be able to hear about it on this show. So we'll clip that and we'll post that as a short as well. Plenty of Bowman thoughts to come. But so what this does do, we'll have the whole farewell tour, everything, la-da-da-da. When we get to the last race of 27, we already know who's going to be in the 48, and we kind of already do, because the overwhelming favorite for the 48 car, that driver whose contract over at Trackhouse expires after 2027, is Connor Zilisch. Justin Marks has also been kind of going around the media this week, because if this announcement makes it official, the car is going to be open following 2027. Justin Marks says they just got to keep working to help Zilisch out, make Trackhouse a destination that he wants to be at, make the cars better, make the team better. But he also says if we spend too much bandwidth on 2028, it's not worth it right now. We'll start with Zilisch because I do think that regardless of what we think about Corey Day, that we'll talk about him in a minute, this is a match made in heaven. The contract's expiring, car is going to be open. If Connor Zilisch is in the 4th Hendrick car, whether they stick with the 48, bring the 88 back, do something else, it really seems like the match made in heaven here.
100%. Yeah. I already kind of alluded to it, right? I think that's one big reason why they persuaded Alex to run again next year, is because it just makes the timeline better for them. I think Connor is 1000% the pick that they should be going after. They need some more youth in that stable, because I know it's crazy to talk about, but like, you know, it feels like just like 8-9 years ago we were talking about this stable of guys that are so young, we're gonna have them for so long. But guess what, guys like Larson, Elliott, and Byron are all like 32, 33 now. So like, they're getting older by the day. So they definitely need an influx of youth over there. I think Connor, you know, we've kind of heard all the things about how he's the generational talent, which I still believe he is, by the way. Like, I still think he is very good despite how bad he's been this year. I still think he's going to be a guy that's going to be around for a really long time. He's going to be really good. And yeah, I don't know. The way that Justin Marks is talking right now, it feels like he's already gone, to be honest with you. Like, he's very focused on, like, we just need to focus on the program and not focus on him, like make the program better. And he's right, because I think I'm getting ahead of my points here, but I think truthfully, he's worried about losing more than just Connor Zilisch, because at the end of next year, all 3 of his drivers are up with their contracts. So I just don't think there's any way in hell they're able to save or keep all 3. I think Connor is probably already a rough draft signed in pencil for a Hendrick contract. And I can't say that I blame him. I think Hendrick should throw everything at this kid if they can.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the move here. As much as Trackhouse, you know, they were able to develop him, get him in. You know, they had to develop him with JRM, so he's kind of already in the Hendrick stable there. They kind of already had set themselves up for this, but I feel like it's probably a fair trade-off for Justin Marks. We'll talk more about Trackhouse in a minute. The other thing that we talked about, though, Corey Day, hot young prospect, finishing up his first full year in the O'Reilly Series. He's going to need somewhere to go. And before you give me a logical take, I'm going to put on the tinfoil hat for a minute and say part of why they announced this now for Bowman is off-season 26 into 27. Byron's young enough he's locked in. Maybe one of Larson or Chase Elliott also says, you know what? I'm kind of done with this too after 27. And they didn't want to announce them both at once. They give Bowman the leeway. And one of those guys, I mean, they both seem like well-adjusted guys. Kyle Larson can go race anything. Has made the comments, cup races are too long. He's had more bad luck than I think we've ever seen from a driver as talented as him in the last year and a half. Maybe he says, I'm just going to go dirt race and I made my money, I'm done. Chase Elliott, a guy already has the cup title, has had a really good year this year, but also seems like a guy that would be satisfied if he stepped away. I do think that's a bit too tinfoil hat. Curious your thoughts on that and some other thoughts about what may happen to Corey Day.
Hey, I love the tinfoil hat discussions. This is why I want to be here tonight. Yeah, interesting thought though. I do think Chase Elliott's probably safe. I just feel like he's very much just like, I know he's so private. I know he can be so boring. I mean, at least to me, I find him so boring. By the way, we've had some really great Bussin' with the Boys, or I guess they're called Racing with the Boys episodes. Chase Elliott was a snoozer. I almost fell asleep watching that thing. But yeah, I think Chase is probably safe just because I feel like he's very much just like, he's just going to stick to the plan. He's just going to do what he wants to do. Larson, though, you're right, though. It's a very interesting discussion because I think he's kind of similar to Bowman, where I don't think he loves Cup Series racing. He loves doing other things. He loves just kind of being able to do what he wants. And I think that if Hendrick ever tries to limit him on what he can do, he's going to get frustrated with that. He's going to go somewhere else or just leave altogether, because we've already seen his tenacity to want to try Indy and to want to try all these other things, right? So I think I even saw a clip recently where he wants to try drag racing all of a sudden now, like he got into a drag car. So yeah, I think Larson is definitely more susceptible to leading, but I don't think that happens, but I like the thought. Go ahead.
Especially because Corey Day is his protege. Maybe he's the guy who says, you know what, this kid deserves to be in a cup car. Hey, here's the HendrickCars.com number 5 for you. You bring up a possibility, maybe running a 4th car at Spire, kind of like how they've done with Heim over 2311 and that sort of deal. And we'll talk more about Spire later too, because there's people trying to shove him into a Spire car. The Spire lineup probably isn't changing for a hot minute either.
Yeah, and I guess if we're going to go ahead and talk about Corey Day, I thought the whole Corey Day, like Larson hand-selected driver or whatever, was such a weird narrative that we've had the last few weeks. So I'm kind of glad that now like the Connor stuff's come out. I don't know if the Corey Day stuff was a smokescreen maybe, or if they really do have Corey Day in their back pocket for the future.
I know Matt Weaver put out an article interviewing all the top Hendrick brass and talking about how much everybody loves Corey Day, and they just had to get this guy in their stable.
It's just interesting to me. I don't know. The take that I was prepared to come here and say tonight, which is probably going to be a little bit of a hot take, and I'm probably going to get some pushback on this, but I hate the hand-selected drivers. Like, how many can we say of those that have actually worked out? Like, I feel like we need to have a guy come in and like actually set the world on fire in these lower series and like actually see that they're doing something before you have a guy that's just like handpicked and we're just trying to make him that way. I don't know, top of my head. There's probably other examples out there, but like William Sawalich, for example, is a guy that like I feel like was like trying to make a thing for so long, and then he's just been stuck for so long. He hasn't done anything. There's another guy that I had my mind earlier too. He was in the truck series for a while. He was in the 18 before Eckes was. God,
you got all the way back to like you're not thinking like Drew Dollar or somebody, huh?
No, is it Brett something? Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
But you're right though that it's almost you have the guys that are handpicked that do have some talent, but they don't necessarily have to. Corey didn't have to win his way or drive his way into a Hendrick ride.
Right.
You got the Hendrick ride. You do have guys that are lighting up the lower series, like a Parker Retzloff, who I think eventually he's going to be in a big ride because he's racing his way into a big ride. And then you got the Sawaliches that, for better or worse, whether you have the talent to win in good cars or not, you have the money behind you, and that's what is most important for a lot of these guys today too.
Right. And I don't know if that's the thing with Corday. Like, I'm not trying to say he's a kid that has a lot of money or anything like that. Like, clearly he's proven himself in the dirt world. Mm-hmm. But
he just won up here at Lernerville, just a bit northeast of Pittsburgh here. They have Don Martin Silver Memorial Cup, something like that. I'm not well versed in the dirt world, but it's a big World Outlaws race. Corey Day won it this past week. So
yeah, exactly. So like he clearly has talent, but like to just go ahead and say that he's going to have the next Hendrick ride, like so, like you're also putting so much pressure on him too. Like let the kid develop. Like I just need to see more personally. Like make him be like the 2030 plan, not the 2028 plan. That's kind of where I sit. Like I just feel like I don't like the hand-picked guys. I want to see a guy earn it.
Yeah, I do think probably another year in O'Reilly is going to happen, and then it's a matter of what happens from there. But to tie it all back into Bowman, I know the last couple of years have been rough. A lot of people every week, this guy sucks, get him out of the car, whatever, all that bullshit narrative. He's almost like the last of a dying breed of got up to the Cup Series in really crappy teams, not starting park, but maybe just about, teams that have since dissolved, relatively early in the charter era. Even like I think BK Racing's charters went in court for like $2 million. I think everybody would kill to get a $2 million charter nowadays. Yeah. But to be able to go from that to come to Hendrick Motorsports, I just hope that history looks back on him more fondly, and I think it will. And it'll be nice to have this celebration of this guy's career, and then everyone will get their wish. Alex goes out on his own terms, which is great, and then whether it's Day, Zilisch, or some crazy third thing, you're going to get another generational talent in a Hendrick ride, and it'll be a great couple of years from there. So looking ahead after that, a couple more contract statuses that are either locked in or up in the air. Let's start with the guys that are re-signed. Tyler Reddick locked back in with 23-11 after he won his 3 in a row. I'm sure he got a bit more money out of MJ's pockets. Ryan Blaney is re-signed with Penske. Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece both locked in over at RFK. Todd Gilliland locked in back over at Front Row. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going to be back in the Hayek 47. That's one where I'm a little surprised they didn't cash out, but I think a lot of the industry is trying to cash out these single car teams when maybe we shouldn't. But none of these guys really were a surprise. All guys that made sense going back into their rides.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. I guess maybe the most surprising of all of them was probably Gilliland, just because, well, I guess he did prove it this past week, but what has he really proven, I guess, in that car? Like, I think ever since McDowell left, we all had a lot more hopes for him. So I'm a little shocked just because I feel like there are some good names in the Ford stable. So I'm shocked that he stuck around. But again, that might just be another, like, let's just re-sign it for another year and then we'll figure it out next year. But otherwise, yeah, I agree. Reddick wasn't going anywhere. Blaney wasn't going anywhere. Buescher got a lot of interest from other teams apparently. But I think Brad pretty much realizes just how good he is for his program. He needed to keep him around. And then Preece, we'll talk more about him in a little bit, but Preece, I'm not shocked that he's around, but I'm shocked of what their plan is for him next year. So,
yeah, we'll get more specific into that. With Gilliland, I do think probably just a 1-year deal, I believe, over there. I know a lot of these, I wish it could be like most other sports where it's like, okay, this guy is signed for this much and this much money, has the option years, whatever. We would love to know that, but it's not
like
the way
spot track, like a website that tracks it for us.
That would be awesome to see, but I don't think it's going to happen in NASCAR. And there are guys in the lower ranks guys and girls that we'll talk about that could have a bright future in NASCAR and could be candidates for Cup rides as the years go on. Drivers, though, with contracts that are up after 2027. This is confirmed stuff by good old Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic. Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace and Shane Van Gisbergen all confirmed to be up after 27. Chastain and SVG, we can have the whole Trackhouse conversation. We'll touch on some now, some later, I guess. SVG, I don't see going anywhere. He has said he may probably only wants to do this over here in the U.S. for another 2 or 3 years. So it could be a little, I'm going to sign another deal and then in a couple of seasons go back home. Chastain's an interesting case because, Trackhouse is not where they want to be, but where else is he going to go? That would be a better ride. Chase Briscoe, I think, is definitely going to re-sign with JGR. He has shown he's one of the top drivers in the series, has validated everything from his years at SHR being a top prospect. That would be shocking to see him leave. And the way 2311 sits, obviously Bubba Wallace is not the number one driver there anymore, and probably is the number 3 next year. But it still would surprise me if they wouldn't bring him back. He's certainly performed well enough to be able to hold that run.
Yeah, 100%. I think Bubba, if he was to leave, I think it would be on his terms, not the team's terms, right. Because, like you said, I think he is a third driver. And just look at put yourself in his shoes for this year. His teammate Reddick set the world on fire to start the year. Has 4 or 5 wins at this point. Has been, I know he's cooled off a little bit since, but he's been fantastic this year. And now Heim, who's a part-time driver, has 2 wins and 15 starts, whatever. He's got to be sitting there like having some self-esteem issues. I would personally, like if my team is winning races and I'm just sitting here not doing anything, it's got to hurt the ego a little bit. But yeah, I don't think MJ or Denny want Bubba to go anywhere. I think they want him to stay with them. But who knows? Maybe Bubba doesn't want to be the third guy in the stable. Maybe he does take a look at some other rides out there and maybe wants to be the top guy at a program. But I think it's pretty unlikely. And then, like you said, with Ross and SVG, I don't expect them to go anywhere, but I don't know. With the way Trackhouse is running right now, they've got to at least consider it, right?
Yeah, I would agree with you. We'll talk about that a little more in depth later. 2 guys that it's not been reported by Bianchi or anything like that, but you look around at some of the other materials and it doesn't appear that either Chase Elliott or Christopher Bell have deals signed past 2027. Now, of course, there could be something that comes out. Oh, actually, they're signed for another 8 years. What the hell are you talking about? But again, those are a couple of guys. Like I said, with Chase, maybe he's a guy that could be content doing something else. And Christopher Bell, honestly, could be another guy at that point too. Go run the dirt. He's had his time in Cup. But leaving the tinfoil hat off, do you think either of these 2 guys would try to go anywhere else? Or do you think they're locked into their rides?
Yeah, we are just on Chase Elliott. I think he's pretty locked in. Christopher Bell, yeah, I think he's pretty locked in too. He seems like he's very JGR committed. He likes Joe. So the only thing about Christopher, again, tinfoil hat, right? With Christopher Bell, the only thing is that
one too after you.
Joe doesn't let him run dirt. Was that what you're gonna say? Like he kind of limits how much Christopher can do outside of Cup. So there's that. I don't know if you had the same thought or not, but
so playing off of that, maybe they swap. Bell goes to Hendrick, where he can run with his buddy Larson. Chase Elliott takes the 9, goes to JGR. Tinfoil hat. Just came up with it right here. Maybe something that's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's true. He does have his friend with Briscoe though, at JGR too. Like him and Briscoe are pretty close. So either way, though, you're right though.
They can still be buddies and not be in the same race shop.
That's fair. They already were.
All right, so yeah, tinfoil hats off for a minute. We'll talk about some moves that have already been announced and discussed, but we'll bring them up here just for posterity and if anyone has any extra thoughts here. Jesse Love going to replace Josh Berry in the Wood Brothers number 21. Corey Heim is replacing Riley Herbst at 2311. Unfortunately, he will still run the 35. I think they gave him the option to keep running in the 67. He said, no, I'm not really into that. I'm going to run the 35. It'll be one of those fun things you look back on when he's got 60 Cup wins, if he's able to get that far. Hey, do you remember what number he won his first couple in? Oh, yeah, the 67 back when he ran part-time. Pretty weird. Herbst probably going to stay in Cup as well. Going to move to the Legacy Motorsports third charter. Again, not final, but all the signs are pointing that way. And with the success of Heim's 67 operation, Herbst, when he moved to 2311, brought over his crew chief, Davin Restivo, from the SHR camp. Maybe they move together to Legacy again and leave the full-time box seat open for Booty Barker and that team. Again, that's speculation, but these guys all kind of settled in. The musical chairs have pretty much already been finalized for those few. Yeah.
The one I think I'm most excited about is Jesse Love, though. I'm curious to see if he can do anything with that 21 car. I think Jesse is He's risen fast, and he's done a lot in the O'Reilly that I think really proved himself. So it'd be interesting to see if he can get this 21 program back to where it used to be. And more importantly, he got his foot in the door at Penske, which is the most important thing. So he's going to have a lot more tools at his expense. I hate it for Josh Berry. I do genuinely like Josh Berry, but very intrigued to see what Jesse Love can do. It's going to take a few years, though. I mean, he's going to have to. It's not going to be a next year thing. I just hope that they give him. And I said this when they gave Josh Berry the ride. I hope they give him enough time to prove himself. Josh Berry got that win last year. I was like, oh, here we go. And then it's plummeted since then. So I can just only hope that they give at least Jesse like 2-3 years to try to get this program back in place.
Yeah, the Wood brothers, notorious for changing around drivers. I think the last time they had a guy go more than 2 or 3 seasons, Kyle Petty in the mid-90s. So Jesse Love may only have a couple of years, but he may move for reasons other than they want to boot him out of the car. Penske could have some things changing hands. So that gets us into some of our other teams. I guess we'll start with Penske since we kind of alluded to it. Austin Cindric has not confirmed any contract details yet, but says, quote, to Bob Pockris, I have a strong feeling you'll keep seeing me. He's kind of another one of those fringe guys. I think he's in and around the chase bubble right now. Not a guy who wins super often, but probably for 27, one of those guys that stays. But of the few cup seats that could be moving and shaking in the next decade, I wonder how many more years Austin Cindric is going to get.
Yeah, he's got the hottest seat in Penske for sure. And you kind of just said it too, right? Like if Jesse Love does come in and turns this program out around the 21, I mean, he's going to be breathing down Austin's back. Regardless of what you think about Austin, I think Austin has a fantastic personality off the track, but he just hasn't gotten it done on the track and cup. He was supposed to come in and be this road course guy and hasn't in a long time. He shows himself at super speedways every once in a while, but still he doesn't quite always get the job done. He's shown flashes in the pan at the short tracks all of a sudden the last 2 years. I think that Penske's just been hitting that package really, really well. He's been showing a little bit there, but he's still going to need to show more if he wants to keep this ride. Like you said, I don't think it's going to be next year. I don't necessarily think it's going to be 28, but maybe come they give Jesse Love those 2 years, maybe 2029, the seat kind of changes hands. And Cindric, I feel like Cindric would be a lot like Bowman, where he wouldn't want to just move back down. I think he would just leave. He's a great commentator, by the way. Like whenever he does the fills in the booth for the O'Reilly season and stuff like that, he's fantastic. So I think he could easily slide right into that role if the time came. And not to mention his dad, right? His dad is a lot with on the performance side of things, like operations for Penske too. So he may see that as an avenue for himself as well, but he's not going to be long-winded, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of like Bowman is kind of Hendrick or nothing. Cindric is Penske or nothing. And he's a really smart guy, talented racer. He could go race sports cars, something like that. Could move up into the Penske front office, do some things like that. But yeah, I mean, if he wants to race and cup for the next 10 years or so, he's going to need to win, 2 cup wins, 3 cup wins. So you probably need a few more than that. It's a 22,500 Gateway, and then Dega, I think there is 3. So time flies. It's already been a year and a half since his last cup win. So anyway, with Cindric, that 2 car could be something that moves around soon, but probably not for 27. Joe Gibbs Racing, I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss here, but 1920 we already talked about. We know Denny Hamlin almost certainly going to retire after 2027, and that Brent Cruz is kind of the hand-picked replacement. Obviously, the 54 is not changing. Anything you want to discuss in the JGR camp?
Not necessarily. I think the 19, 20, and 54 are all pretty stable. We know what's happened to the 11. It didn't dawn on me until we started recording that we're going to have 2 farewell tours next year with Bowman and Hamlin. I didn't really – well, I guess maybe not necessarily. I guess we don't necessarily know that Denny's leaving the sport. We just know that he's leaving the 11. But I feel pretty confident he's probably leaving the sport as far as driving goes. But, yeah, that's really it. And Brent Cruz is a guy that I guess – to go back to my point earlier, I guess you could potentially say he's a hand-picked kid, but he's been proving himself already, though. So I think we definitely need to see more from him, but I'm excited to see what he can do, come 2028.
Yeah, he'll still get another full year probably in that JGR Riley car, so he'll be able to show some more then. He'll be one of those guys. He, Zilisch, Heim, Hocevar, all these guys were really going to enter a really fun era of young drivers in the Cup Series. Spire Motorsports now, again, Hocevar locked in there for quite some time. Suarez, it's a contract year for him, but the way he's run this year would be really shocked if he didn't re-sign. I think that's a good place for him. That leaves Michael McDowell in the 71. What he says is he wants to race there until Tristan McKee, Spire's in-house prospect, is ready for Cup racing. Tristan McKee's 15 years old. So that's quite a long while. You take McDowell could be trying to take a long walk off a short plank there, and could end up out of this ride earlier than he wants to. He's kind of a good glue guy. He'll win you a race once in a while. Really, again, really good guy, smart guy, talented driver. But I think we're going to get to a point where there's just a couple too many good young prospects and not enough rides for them that Spire is probably going to have to jump on one of them as almost a bridge to McKee that isn't Michael McDowell.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love McDowell for thinking that he's going to be around that long. I love that. I love that he's kind of already written that plan out for himself, but I just don't think that's in the cards. And to your point, right? Like, how many times have we seen kids like this that they like project to be good and then aren't? So like, they can't just like go ahead and pin this kid as the next guy for this ride 5 years early. That's just not going to happen. You're going to see somebody else come into this ride. I think McDowell's is another person that definitely is going to probably work his way into like the personnel there at Spire. I don't think he leaves FRM without that. So I think he definitely wants and probably has aspirations of things to do within that shop outside of racing. And maybe that's more of what he meant, but I don't think he's going to be driving that car more than, I think next year, truthfully. He's not even proven it anything. I mean, look at his teammates. His teammates are lighting the world on fire. And I know McDowell has some flashes in the pan, but he doesn't have enough for me to keep him in that ride for another year.
Yeah, as Spire continues the upward ascent, it may just be a time where McDowell is going to have to drop off. I mean, same thing with, I don't want to compare McDowell to Corey LaJoie. I have a lot more respect for McDowell as a driver, as a cup driver than Corey LaJoie, but Spire outgrew Corey LaJoie. They may even outgrow a guy like McDowell here in the coming years. One of the most interesting teams to talk about is Kaulig, because there's this whole will they, won't they, when will they get Dodge to the Cup Series? We know one of their seats is filled. AJ Allmendinger basically there until he retires. Chris Rice throwing out numbers, 2029, 2033, whatever, just infinite options on this contract. AJ's like, whatever, man, I just race as long as they let me race. He doesn't care. They're not going to make the mistake of demoting him again like they did, flip-flopping him back and forth from Cup and O'Reilly. He's in that seat till he retires. It doesn't matter. If they stay with Chevy, seems like Ty Dillon probably continues there because it is almost kind of a dead weight seat. No manufacturer support still with Chevrolet if they have to go into a second year. He's done respectfully enough, has performed to the expectations of the team. Doesn't really tear up equipment, I don't believe. Has had some flashes in the pan of being neat, the in-season challenge runs and that. But if they move to Dodge, Richard Childress is not a Dodge guy, which means Ty Dillon is not a Dodge guy, which means Ty Dillon is not going to drive a Dodge in the Cup Series, which could leave an open seat there. There have been some interesting things floating around, but just your general opinion on Kaulig and what could happen with them.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail in the coffin when I read your notes last night, too. I couldn't agree more. I had the same notes written down for Dinger of this is going to be a ride as long as he wants it to be, truthfully. Like, he is very much implanted in that program. He has a ton of respect from Chris Rice and Matt Kaulig. Like, they do not want to let him go. They actually see him as, I don't remember where I read this, but he's more of like a mentorship for this whole Dodge program. Like, they really want him to be around as they transition to Dodge. They're going to have a lot of young drivers on that Dodge side, especially on the truck side. So yeah, AJ can do this for as long as he wants to. He's not going anywhere. It's just as long as he wants to do it. Because there's times where I don't really think that AJ loves doing this either. So he could eventually get tired of this. I don't know. But in the near future, he's going to be here. He's going to be around. I think that he at least is here until we get Dodge to Cup. At that point, maybe he's out. Maybe he doesn't want to start over with. Look at what's happening with the trucks Dodge this year. I don't think he's going to want to stick around for that. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of conversation on him. And then Ty, yeah, 100% agree. Like, I think 2027, I doubt Dodge is coming that quick. I think it's still going to be a Chevy team next year. So I think Ty is still there. 2028, 2029, whenever Dodge enters the picture, I think Ty is out very, very quickly. And we'll just have to see, do they bring up one of these kids that they've had in trucks for a few years in Dodge as they're, kind of making their own legacy and also connecting with the Dodge side of things to what these guys come up. We'll have to see. But yeah, for sure, it's Allmendinger for now. Ty, you're really short-lived, buddy. It's just a matter of how long you can hang around.
Yeah, and I think everyone's kind of on the same page there. With AJ, I think he probably will give it a couple of years in a Dodge car, again, with the mentorship thing. The guy likes racing. I think he just gets down whenever they wreck. He's like, every time he crashes, they run bad. Oh, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. I hate this. What am I even doing this for? I understand. I get that way with stuff too, AJ. But generally, I feel like he's going to have a good time there. Going to set up the Dodge program for a couple of years while they continue to build that prospect network. Of course, they have some good guys in trucks. Who knows if they'll reopen that O'Reilly program if Dodge decides to build O'Reilly cars, which would kind of surprise me, but it could happen. Remember there's a guy in the truck series. I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, but just while we're on Kaulig, there's a guy in the truck series who may or may not he probably won't have a cup ride open next year with the team he's with now. He ran a couple of Xfinity races a couple of years ago with Kaulig Racing. Lane Riggs is a guy who might be the hottest young prospect without a clear path to cup. If they move to Dodge, it could be a deal where he says, hey, Dodge or Kaulig and Dodge with a new team could very well jump FRM, maybe even by the end of that first season. Again, that's mostly speculation. It's been kind of tossed around briefly, hinted at in the podcast sphere, but it is something that putting those chips together could make a lot of sense for Lane Riggs to make that jump when a Dodge Cup car is available.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, I think I had Lane kind of more like, I think he's kind of the top sought after Ford prospect right now. But you're right. Like, we've seen guys flip before and jump manufacturers. So
if there's no room at the end and someone's offering you a cup seat,
yeah,
you kind of got to take it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think it's definitely on the table. I mean, I don't know who else Dodge would even really look at. I mean, the only thing that I thought of too for, I'm just going to go ahead and throw another name out there for, but it's actually the next point too. But Tommy Baldwin, right? Tommy Baldwin leaves Rick Ware. I think there's more to the story, truthfully. Like, I think Tommy is trying to get Luke's name in the conversation at Dodge because it's been reported that he tried to get Luke involved in the Race for the Seat program. And I think it just didn't work out for his current talks with what he was going to be doing with trucks this current year. I think he's definitely trying to reinsert himself in that conversation. I think he wants to get his son in that program and get him up through the ranks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe even Tommy go over to Kaulig. That way he has a lane for Luke as well. So yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different avenues because Tommy, sorry, I lost my track there, but Tommy actually used to be Dodge with Casey Kane. So he has those ties already, right? So yeah, I mean, there's so many different angles you could go here of who Dodge could be pitting or who they're looking at. But hey, as long as they keep the Race for the Seat around, I'm here for it because I love the Race for the Seat because that goes against everything I was talking about earlier, or furthers my point, everything I was talking about earlier. Have somebody who earns it, right? Put someone in that ride who is not money backed.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. Whether or not Mini Tyrell gets to stay for a second season,
no, he won't.
He hasn't run that great, but none of them have run that great. I am excited. I think it was you who threw it in our chat a couple of weeks ago that supposedly the Dodge trucks are getting a big upgrade at Richmond. I'm excited for that. I got approved for credentials. You will see content from me at Richmond in a couple of weeks. So they're going to have Elliot Sadler in their free agent truck. I'm a big Elliot Sadler guy. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I hope they do run better because guys like Brendan Queen who hopped in that system, they're going to want to run a little better to continue to move their way up the ranks to potentially being a cup driver. And, for Butterbean, for if they're able to get somebody in the Race for the Seat program that's dynamite, for Justin Haley to get back in the cup. I mean, you look at it, if you don't go for a prospect and you just kind of want a guy who knows what he's doing in the Cup Series, they have Corey LaJoie and they have Justin Haley in that stable. So I'm here jumping to prospects. Those first year or so, it probably is better to put one of those guys in an established seat than to rush a prospect up and have him run like garbage in garbage cars. So yeah, Rick Ware Racing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Sorry, you're all good. Feel free to get your second point out there before we continue.
You're good. I think one of us is lagging a little bit, but Justin Haley is somebody I kind of forgot about. So I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. I mean, they could easily just have AJ and Justin in that ride for the first year or two just to get their feet on the ground. So I like that. I like that point.
So yeah, good stable over there. Rick Ware. At some point, they were supposedly, whether they or haven't they, sold the team to TJ Pusher, one of the former co-owners of Spire. My take is on this point, I'm not trying to, take a dump on any of the smaller teams. We need these single car teams, smaller teams around in the sport. It's been harder for them to get and stay involved in the charter system. But with Ware, they had that 1 year where they ran 2 cars and they ran Kaz Gralla most of the year in one. Good driver, decent prospect, guy who deserves some cup starts. And they had Justin Haley for basically that whole year in the 51. They did that swap with LaJoie. Then they went down to one team and they put Cody Ware back in the car. Cody Ware is not a guy that's going to get you anywhere. As long as you're going to have Cody Ware in the car, it shows that you have no interest in even trying to be competitive. So my take is, what's the point? you have a different and probably a more logical take on the situation.
So the only thing that I would say here is, like, I know I just hinted at like how Tommy left for being there for his son, trying to get rides for him. But I also do think that you're hitting on something here with, I think that Tommy said on the podcast that they had like a difference in opinion, right? And he didn't want to ruin their friendship of the difference in opinion. So I think the difference of opinion is, I think Tommy probably wanted to go down that road. He probably wanted to be like, let's go back to what we were doing. Let's get somebody that's worth a shit in this car and try to make this program better. And I think that Rick was probably like, no, I'm good. Like, I got my son in my car. I'm having fun. I can sell this charter for any time I want for over $100 million. I'm just here to have fun and quote unquote start and park, which I know it's not really a thing anymore, but he's really just kind of chilling. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Rick actually does a ton of other things in other like facets of motorsports. He's got his hands on like everything else. This is just another small pocket for him. So I think he's just sitting on this charter value and just watching it skyrocket and just watching the dollar signs. And I don't think he's really wanting to do anything or go anywhere until the time is right.
Yeah, and as much as it sucks to see Cody Ware finish 36 in points every year, I do have a lot of respect for him because remember a couple of years ago, he had 4 charters and was running 4 chartered cars, COVID years right before that. So he's narrowed it down to 1. And this is his passion project. So I kind of see it from that point to where, I had 4 guys. I was trying to fuck with all this and it didn't work out. I got a bunch of money selling those and now they're worth more than even when he sold the other 3. So I'm going to have my fun with my kid and then we'll sell when we feel the time is right because these could continue going up. And you have guys, Dale Earnhardt Jr. first and foremost, who I'm sure would love to be cup owners. Ride that thing for all it's worth. Get Junior and some venture capitalists to pay you like $250 million for a charter. That's a hell of a lot of money to go out and dick around in every other form of motorsports. I mean, we're getting informal with it here, but I mean, I totally get that frame of reference too. It's just, you want to see guys compete, but at the same time, somebody finishes first every week and somebody finishes 36th every week. If they're having a great time running 36th every week, more power to them. All right. So yeah. Those are the teams I brought up to discuss. You had a couple as well that you wanted to have more extended discussions on. Let's start with RFK.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of already hinted at 2 of these guys, but Buescher, despite having multiple interests from other teams, it sounded like even one of the top 3 teams potentially really inquired on Buescher's availability. You got to wonder if that was potentially another guy for the 48, maybe somebody for the 11 before they had Brent Cruz, right? Like it might have been one of those 2 seats. But glad to see that he's staying. I think that he's kind of implanted himself as kind of like the guy at RFK. So that's cool. Preece, I mentioned that I was kind of surprised that he re-signed. I'm not necessarily surprised that he re-signed, but I'm just surprised that they're just so open to run an open car next year. Like I know that they're trying to chase a charter, but I don't know where that charter is coming from. So running an open car is definitely interesting, but I think Preece would be dumb to leave. Like he finally got himself established somewhere. So I don't blame him. But the bigger question here is like, how much longer is Brad Keselowski going to hold us out? Because, I mean, he's been bad this year, like very bad this year. And you're already talking about how you don't have a 3rd charter. You've been bad. And not to mention, we've talked about a few names, and we're going to talk about a few more names that could potentially be up at the end of next year, that if you could somehow swing them over to you, why wouldn't you just take a step back, focus on the ownership, and bring one of these guys in? So that's really the point I want to drive home here is, I mean, how much longer do you think Brad has? And do you think that they try to bring somebody else in, or do you think that they're just stuck with the 2 charters and just stick with those 2 guys?
I just really think with Brad right now, this has been happening probably for the last couple of years. It's this tough battle between owner Brad and driver Brad. Driver Brad knows and thinks that he's still got it. I mean, he's only won 1 time with RFK the entire next gen era. He's been over there. He has flashes in the pan. I mean, late last year, he was running top 10 on ovals more often than not. He's got a couple of good tracks for him coming up. He could very well pull off another. He's still a guy that can win, but he's no longer a guy that can go out there and win a championship. He's getting older, and eventually owner Brad is going to get to a point where, regardless of the charter deal, I'll talk more about that in a second, but with owner Brad, I mean, his life is made easier by the fact that Ford doesn't have any prospects breathing down his neck. If they had an RFK O'Reilly team and some guy was out there winning a bunch of races that really kind of put, him on the hot seat, he can kind of do whatever he wants, even from the extent of not just because he's the owner, but because he can still go out there and compete. He doesn't have anything breathing down his neck. What I think he should do, and again, this is driver Brad versus owner Brad, I think that he should put Buescher and Preece in the chartered cars and him run unchartered. I don't know. Again, driver Brad, owner Brad. His driver ego may not let him do that. But his owner ego, I think it's one of those things he should know he's not going to win another title. If he were to miss the Daytona 500, it would suck. But he's going to also say, hey, I know I'm good enough to make the Daytona 500 on speed. Why even have this conversation? And there's basically 1 or 2 other races a year that have over the maximum amount of cars entered. So he's not going to miss 10 races or something like that. I don't know if he'll do that. We'll have to see. I mean, who knows how often they run a 4th car as well. It's funny, though, Preece is in this situation again because he was the only guy so far in the charter system that has run a full year unchartered in that second JTG car. 19 or 20 or somewhere in that range, he did that. And now he might be stuck doing it again if Brad does not fall on the sword. They're all great drivers. Buescher's a guy who doesn't need to prove himself anymore. He's won multiple races. He probably wasn't getting the 48 or the 11 or anything like that. So he's another one of those guys that upward movement. I mean, maybe he could have got the 21 and tried to weasel his way into Penske, but it's almost like the number 1 at RFK versus being the 3 or 4 at Penske. I don't think is that much of an improvement. And Preece is a guy I'm super glad he's been able to carve out a career for him, run at Roush for as long as he can, got the Clash win. He's a guy that almost, I mean, he still needs that first points win, but he's proved he deserves to stay around as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I like the point about Brad just giving the other 2 guys the charters because that's what he should do. Whether he does that or not, I don't know. But hey, maybe he does. Maybe he just does the right thing because maybe this whole time he's just been kind of putting that thought out there of like, oh, we'll just run one open next year, and no one's really pinning on like, oh, well, he's going to be the one to do that. So I like that angle for sure. And yeah, I don't know. I just if you don't have a 3rd charter next year and it's noticeable that you're not performing as well. I just don't know at what point you just hang it up and just take one of your hats off. I just think it'd be easier for you, but who am I to say? I'm not the one in the car. So yeah,
maybe he can go knock on Gene Haas's door and see if he'll sell that 41 charter and have Cole just go run to know Riley if he's cool with that. I had another thought on RFK and it completely escaped my mind. So Trackhouse, you wanted to talk about a little more, so we can get into that.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much talked about these guys a little bit earlier, but all 3 drivers, our contracts are up next year. Connor, Ross, and SVG. I think it's pretty much a done deal that Connor's going to be in the 48 unless something crazy happens. But yeah, I just still think like if you're Ross or SVG, do you consider going somewhere else if the performance doesn't improve? I also think just here's some tinfoil hat ideas coming up next. Does Trackhouse look to also move to Dodge? Like I think Kaulig's going to be the program for Dodge, but you typically do have secondary programs flow in. Does Trackhouse look to kind of make that shift over? And maybe that would keep a Ross and SVG around because it gives them a chance to, see something new and have a little bit more rejuvenation going on there. So that's one thought I had. And then also, who do they look at to put in this car if one Connor does leave? The name that I'm going to throw out there, there's nothing out there that makes me think this is actually true or anything, just a tinfoil idea. But there's been a lot of people really pushing Raja Caruth the last few years. Like Junior's been really trying to like make sure he gets a ride, like talks about how mature this kid is. Raja was on DBC, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. They had a lot of glowing things to say about him, about how he's very much a student of the game. He has a lot of guys in the Cup Series who respect him too. I don't know that he's going to be like, we're going to talk about JRM in a little bit. I don't know if he's going to have a ride with JRM next year. So like, do they look at eventually like having Raja as kind of like their reserve for Trackhouse for go ahead and start getting him prepped for 2 years from now when Connor leaves and they can have him jump in? He'd stay with Chevy that way. I think it's been, we've seen it with Ross a little bit. Like I think Rick Hendrick does have his hands a little bit in Trackhouse's notebook a little bit. So I think it's a possibility that Raja could end up there, but that's another tinfoil idea because I truthfully don't know who else would be in that stable they could put over there. But we'll talk about some other guys later that could potentially be some future prospects.
Yeah, I love your optimism with Raja, but I think it's more likely he's going to go backwards than go forward. I mean, not to dip into the lower series too early. He may be in a situation where he might have to dip down to that Jordan Anderson car full time and lose any of the JRM races, maybe only get a handful there if Hendrick can support him. It's just because we haven't seen the performance. There's too many other young prospects who, when we get to the end of 27, are going to make themselves known and be in a spot where they're going to be knocking on the Cup door, I feel like, a lot louder than Raja is. In terms of the Dodge deal, I think Trackhouse is perfectly positioned to be the one with another manufacturer. Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice are going to be really mad if Trackhouse jumps in and becomes the one for Dodge after they were the ones who put in all the work. So it could happen, but these guys, I mean, Justin Marks, Matt Kaulig, Chris Rice, they're all guys who want to be number one, just as everybody else does. But for me, like if Honda was able to come in or something like that, I think Trackhouse jumping to them as the one would be perfect. Again, that's all hearsay and speculation. Dodge is the one that's come in. And obviously, you're going to need other teams to go to Dodge. Just Trackhouse and Kaulig, they try to be 1A, 1B. I don't know how that turns out, but I do think Trackhouse is the prime team to whenever they get the opportunity to go to another manufacturer, I think they're going to do it.
But I mean, I guess my thought is, sorry, real quick. I guess my thought is like, if for Chevy, right, it's clearly right now it's Hendrick, Spire, Trackhouse, right? So
you're right with the big jump down to Trackhouse.
Yeah, right.
Very
So like
well
I just feel like if you're Trackhouse, would you rather be next in line at Dodge or stick like way down the line at Chevy? You know, that's kind of where I was going with that. Like I don't think they're going to be the Dodge program, but it's been pretty well established that if you're like the number 2 for the manufacturer, that it can still be very beneficial for you. So that was kind of where I was thinking they might move over to Dodge, but you're right though. Maybe Justin Marks is too big-headed to do that if he loses out on it.
Yeah, but I do think, though, with all of these guys' contracts up after 27, it is going to be a good time, I think, for Justin Marks to take a bite of the humble pie and take that one step backward to then go 2 steps forward as the years go on. It's obviously a long-term project. They've hit their peak with Chevrolet. 2022, Ross Chastain was, 500 feet from the championship, right behind Logano there. They're not going to get that close again. Not in this system, that's for sure. We already know Connor's probably gone. Shane, I think, is going to be Trackhouse and then back down under. I don't think he goes anywhere. He'll re-sign 2-3 years, like I said earlier. Ross, I feel like the only upward movement he would have is if Cindric gets kicked out of the 2, maybe Ross goes over there. But other than that, I just don't see any upward movement. Then continuing, and if Zilisch leaves, I mean, Zilisch isn't the one at Trackhouse right now. He was on that trajectory. Shane's a road course specialist, is good enough at ovals, but I don't think he's going to surpass Chastain as the one. And him leaving would kind of keep Ross as the number 1 at Trackhouse for the foreseeable future. Again, that's just a place where do you jump and become a 3 at another team if you have the opportunity, or stay the 1 where you're at?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I don't expect either of these guys to leave, but I do think the possibility is there. Like I think they have to do themselves a favor to explore and see what other interests might be out there. That's kind of where the point is.
Mm-hmm. And I think Ross will definitely explore. Shane, I think, is Trackhouse and then done.
Yeah.
Ross, though, that 2 car could be a neat possibility for him. We'll have to wait and see. Talking about some lower series stuff now that obviously these guys, the first teams we're going to talk about, there's Cup guys and there's lower series guys here too. Richard Chotis Racing, we didn't talk about them in the Cup side. Austin Dillon is locked in the 3. This was a big topic before the unfortunate passing of Kyle Busch. Where's Kyle Busch going to go? Now Austin Hill is in the 33 car. And it seems like more likely than not, Austin Hill is going to stay in the 33 car. So that leaves that seat open in the O'Reilly series. We already know Jesse Love is going to the Wood Brothers. So right now, both the 2 and possibly the 21 are open. So this ties into Front Row Motorsports. Chandler Smith announced he is leaving the FRM truck after this year. And it seems like his next spot is one of those 2 RCR O'Reilly cars. It's a move that makes sense for Chandler. He's a guy obviously is talented, but is primarily driven by family sponsorship, brings a lot of it. And now probably that 2 car going to be a fit for him. He can run half the races or whatever with the family money, half the races with Wheelan, spend a little less on his side, get back into the O'Reilly series. And if he's ever going to position himself for a Cup ride, I feel like this is the way to do it. Again, not confirmed he's going to RCR, but seems to be where he's headed.
Yeah. It's been pretty widely speculated that's where he's what he's doing, especially to announce it. When he did, I think it's pretty clear. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's smart. I think this really could be the hottest seats. Hottest as in like the seats you want right now because of what you said. Like Austin Hill is just kind of being thrown in that 33 car, but I don't know. I have a lot of bias here. I do not like Austin Hill, so I don't know how long that's going to last. I mean, it's clear that the program likes him, but I don't know. I think that he's going to be he's kind of like the opposite of Hocevar, where I feel like the fans just very much dislike him for his racecraft, right? I just don't think he's long-winded in that seat. And then same with Austin Dillon, right? Like, it's a matter of a few years before it's been widely, like, he's open about it. Like, he wants to take over for his grandfather. So, like, he wanted to get his feet in the sand of running a team and being in management. And that's the whole reason he's doing the bull riding stuff. So, yeah, I mean, these two seats now, whoever they're filling for these O'Reilly rides, I think could very much well be implanting themselves to be the 2 Cup guys 3-4 years from now. And I feel very strongly about that. So I feel like if I was a truck guy, I would be pushing to go to RCR right now as in this O'Reilly ride, because it's just setting you up for the most clear Cup picture that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think Austin Hill, he's definitely performed admirably in that number 33 car this.
Oh, okay. So I'm the one that's live. I thought I was the one that was kicked, but apparently it was Elliot. Yeah, so I will continue the conversation here with where we were going, which is front row. RCR, we just talked about, right? Chandler Smith is going to RCR from front row. Well, not confirmed, but pretty. That's the expected move here. On the FRM Cup side, we have Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland pretty locked in. Noah Gregson, I think is an interesting conversation. Noah has said I think he said on Racing with the Boys podcast how he's very much looking for a job for next year. I think that it was been reported that he could be the guy that ends up in the 21 at one point. Then it was reported that he could end up in the 33 because of they couldn't put I think it was somebody. They couldn't put somebody in the car because of like tobacco products, right? Like they needed somebody older to put in the car because of that. So Gregson was rumored for that reason. But then all of a sudden now you've got Front Row Motorsports coming in a few weeks later saying that they expect Gregson to be in the car next year. So I don't know what's happening on the Cup side necessarily. I mean, it seems like Gregson's going to be in the seat next year. But that's not confirmed. You also have Lane Riggs saying on a podcast as well in the media that he feels like he is getting close to securing a ride in 2027 in the Cup Series. You would have to think that being in that 34 truck, that he would stick with FRM and maybe he'd be getting a ride with that Front Row. Elliot brought up earlier, right, about how Riggs, could potentially be rumored to drive that Kaulig Dodge 10 if Kaulig makes that move to Dodge in the Cup Series sooner rather than later. A lot of interesting conversations with Front Row. I think they've got had two of the hottest Ford prospects. They've got two of the best trucks in the Truck Series. So yeah, interesting to see what happens here. Zane Smith, I think, is pretty locked in. Todd's probably only a 1-year deal. We'll have to see with Gregson, but they've definitely got some decisions to make at Lane Riggs. If they don't do something with him, they could very well lose him. So that is something that I think is very interesting. Very interesting to see what plays out there. I'm going to move down to JRM. We pretty much already know that Justin Allgaier is returning to the number 7. But one thing I think is interesting here is it was mentioned on DBC yesterday, or I guess technically Monday, but I listened to it yesterday. I think the most interesting comment that was made was DBC mentions a former driver from this building is coming back to JRM. So that leaves the picture open. Who is this former driver that's coming back? Could it be a Josh Berry? Is it a Sam Mayer? Is it a Brandon Jones? There's a few guys it could be. There's also I saw another name earlier and drawing a blank on now, but I think there's potentially 4 names in the picture here of who it could be coming back to JRM. And then that leaves the question of who you think is out, who's not in at JRM if one of these guys is coming back. You got to think it's probably Sammy Smith, because I think Dale Jr. pretty much said in the media after Quapple's win that how big of a win that was for him and how happy it was for him. And you've got to think that pretty much solidified Quapple coming back. Allgaier is clearly not going anywhere for at least until he wants to, probably. It's probably another Allmendinger situation. I think Allgaier can race for as long as he wants to with JRM. So yeah, I guess, Elliot, now that you're back, I don't know how much you caught of that, but do you have a tinfoil hat idea on who's coming back to JRM and who's out in this program?
Yeah, apologies, everyone. I think you saw my light flickering, and then I just had the power cut out. So apologies for that, but we're back now. I'm sure you gave a great take on front row as well. Just weird how they probably should just put Lane Riggs in the 4 next year, but they're probably going to keep Gregson around. Don't get it. Hence why Riggs saying, screw this, I'm out. I'm going to go to the 10 if I get it. Either way there, a lot of moving and shaking to be done there. JRM really interesting as well. Again, Allgaier going to be back, as I'm sure you said just before I got back on. I do like that idea that you were referring to of somebody coming back. Josh Berry, I don't know that he ends up in a cup seat. So Berry coming back in. Dale Jr. is not going to let Josh Berry go without a ride. I mean,
no.
He'd obviously going to want to put him in one of his cars over, pulling some strings to get him in, Jordan Anderson or DGM or some shitty ride like that. That's compared to JRM at least. Sammy Smith, I agree, performance-wise, is the guy that you probably would want to throw out. Sammy Smith brings funding from Pilot Flying J that I'm sure helps keep these other guys in the car. I mean, Quapple, they were able to get, wild protein chips, crackers, whatever. I don't know if you ever tried them. I haven't tried the crackers. The protein chips are not that great. But, hey, their sponsorship has already paid off. They get a win at the Brickyard, so really good on them. And I think it will keep Quapple in this ride. We know Allgaier is staying. And then, I think the guy out of the building, like I was talking about earlier, is probably Raja. I think that, as harsh as it is to not even give him a full year and then kick his ass out, he's got to win a race. And even if he wins, it might be too late in the game. I mean, they were barely able to put it together for Quapple after not winning last year, and they still had to swap. They still had to throw him in a DGM car for 4 races. They couldn't get it together. So it just really is such a tough world down there. The prospects are just dominant down there. I see you have on the sheet here, Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones. I think Jones and JGR are a match made in heaven. I don't think Jones wants to repeat the couple of years at JRM, which did not go well. Sam Mayer, he's one of those guys that I feel like if he's going to find a path to the Cup Series, him and Sheldon Creed over at Haas, they got to find it soon. Unless Cole Custer is willing to fall on the sword to put one of them in the 41, I don't know if they really have a path, which is really tough for them.
Yeah. If I had to put my money on it, it's either Josh Berry or Sam Mayer. It's one of those two. I can't decide which one it is. I mean, this is great reporting right now, but I saw some Reddit comments earlier that were basically saying that Junior can't afford to put Josh Berry and Koppel in a car because it would be too much of his money. Junior doesn't like to spend too much of his money. Which
is part of why you need Sammy Smith and the pilot money to stick around.
Okay. All right. That's okay. I like that. I like that thought.
That's how JRM has always been. They've always had to have one of those seats, a big pay driver. I mean, all due respect to the late Michael Annett, he was able to win at Daytona, was able to have some good runs. He was there because of the Pilot Flying J money that's since gone to Sammy Smith. Brandon Jones, when they brought him in for a couple of years, it was because they had the full support of Menards. Yeah, brought that money. So JRM, unfortunately, is always going to have that one seat. It's going to be a pay driver. Sammy Smith, I feel like, is at least more talented than, I thought he had a higher upside than Brandon Jones. Maybe not. Think he has a higher upside than Michael Annett. Maybe not. But either way, as long as he's bringing that money to the table, I think he does well enough that I think JRM probably keeps him around unless they're able to get another pay driver.
True. Who is Sam's mate? Does Sam Mayer have his own backing? I'm trying to think who his sponsor is.
At Haas, he's had this Audibel, whatever they are, and then Andy's Frozen Custard's been on the car a little bit, but
Andy's,
I guess that's
right.
That's more a Haas sponsor, I think, than anything else. Yeah, I don't know that he brings any personal funding, which is tough because he's a good driver, but it's one of those where he hasn't dominated. He's had some, fiery moments where he's kind of, he's got some growing up to do. He's one of those guys. I'm just not sure. And with RCR, I think I got cut off before I could make this point. That other car, I hope that it's, a Parker Retzlaff or an Austin Green.
Yeah.
Guys that have talent and just need a good place to land. And those two guys, among others in the series, I think are very deserving.
Yes, Parker for sure is a guy that I want to talk about tonight because I would love to see him get a better ride. I don't know what it is. I mean, he's been rumored to potentially sign as like a legacy reserve driver, which then could potentially pin him as like a Tricon truck guy potentially next year. So there's a lot of weird circles for him. But Yeah, he certainly deserves it for sure.
I kind of would like that for Parker because he obviously has something with legacy here in the 62 with a legacy fire suit on. So they're not going to give him a fire suit because, hey, buddy, here's a fire suit and a truck ride. As good as he's been in O'Reilly, I mean, the 11 truck is honeycut and probably still going to be honeycut. Do you put him in a Tricon truck and have him try to go run for a truck title? Is that going to be more beneficial to him? I don't know.
I mean, potentially, right? Because we hear from all these Cup drivers that the truck is more like the Cup car than the Xfinity car or O'Reilly car is. So maybe it is. I mean, maybe that is an avenue. And I'm not sure that I'm really against it because I don't know. Viking seems to be doing really well, but that also could be a flash in the pan. So I think you also want to jump on a better opportunity if it comes about. So, and I think a Tricon truck is a better opportunity. So yeah, I mean, we'll see, I guess we'll see, but I think he's one of the most deserving guys for sure in that camp.
To loop Gibbs into that too with Toyota, if he's in the Toyota camp, I don't think he's getting a Gibbs ride. We know Gray's back in the 54. Zilisch probably can buy into the 18 again. Cruz will be in the 19. Jones will be in the 20. So their lineup is kind of set. Sam Hunt has not shown to be an upgrade. Harrison Burton, Dean Thompson have not run very well in those cars. I forget who even was in the second one last year. I don't even think they had a full-time guy. They haven't shown to be an upgrade. And unless they can upgrade, I hope Viking isn't the place to be for him. Not because, again, Viking, they've done well, they've invested, whatever. But there's a bigger future for this kid, and I just hope he finds it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree. So I guess let me go back a second because there was one name that, and actually it's a good circle too because it brings us back to front row, which your power really did you a favor on there. But so the other guy that I saw that could be a guy coming back to the building for JRM could be Noah Gragson. Now that'd be an obvious step down, but I don't think that Gragson's necessarily loving his time in Cup right now. Like he seems very unhappy. So do you rather? And it's funny because I feel like they actually talked about this on Racing with the Boys, and I can't remember what his answer to this was. But would you rather go back to Xfinity where you were winning, or stay in Cup and run 35th? So like, could Gragson go, and that gives opportunity for then Elaine Riggs, right? Like just again tinfoil hat, right?
Yeah, I don't really know where the movement there happens. It could be Gragson stays with front row, they boot his ass down to a truck and bring Elaine Riggs up the Cup. That's very possible too, because I think Gragson could be successful and go win down in the trucks. And he's one of those guys that if he's not going to get a bigger Cup ride, which at this point might not be happening for him, he's a guy that could be great for the entertainment side in the O'Reilly and truck. Just go out and be that sort of heel, whether it's heel or fun party guy or whatever. That personality and that talent could be better served in one of the lower series. As much as everybody wants to go be a Cup champion, you have to have those guys in the lower series to stick around and race the guys down there and teach them how to race. And Gragson could definitely be one of those guys. And
he's got Bass Pro and what's the other one? Black Rifle, I think, in his back pocket too. So he's got money.
But so then again, I mean, I wonder if they just haven't sponsored at front row really because of other sponsors there. I think he's had True Timber on a couple of times. I think they're in his corner. I guess it depends on just how much they like him because they sponsor 8,000 other guys. But yeah, I think you're right, though. I think they would bring enough funding to help him get somewhere.
Yeah. So, again, probably not the guy coming back to JRM, but I just thought it was another interesting name to bring up of a guy that returning to the building, right?
Yeah, it's well in the realm of possibility, so he was worth bringing up in that list.
Yep.
All right, so we've already talked about a lot of these other, second-tier periphery guys, Quapple, Carruth, Creed Mayer. Nick Sanchez, I mean, he's had a tough go of it. AM shuts down after Big Machine boots him out for Star Poli. I mean, that could be an interesting ride that's open too. I don't know if Star Poli is going to buy a second year or not in that car. It hasn't really gone the best for him this year, but as long as he wants to take a sabbatical from being an eye doctor, he's got the sponsorship. We'll see what happens there. But obviously Nick Sanchez, I don't think is going back there. He just got in the door over at Spire in a truck there. Probably, I mean, it seems like at this point he's racing out the rest of the year with Peterson, as much as that sucks for Austin Green, as big of an Austin Green supporter as I've become, making a bunch of money off him on the road courses. Who knows if that's a ride for the future? I've heard everything with Peterson from they're going to 2 cars next year and they're going to run Austin and Nick Sanchez too. They're not even going to make it to the end of the season. So who knows what's going to happen there. Honeycutt, we touched on a little bit, probably get a second year in that 11 truck. He's a guy who can win. He's also a guy who can be a whiny bitch. Gio Ruggiero, probably another year at Tricon makes sense. But I mentioned some of those guys because they're decent prospects. for those guys who want to lock in spots, get upward movement, I feel like the clock kind of is ticking.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You mentioned Creed and Mayer. I think I think their clock is ticking the most than some of these other names.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still have a little bit of faith in Carruth finding something. I hope Retzlaff finds something because, again, that's just to further my point of like a guy that deserves it. I think he deserves a ride somewhere. Honeycutt and Ruggiero, I don't expect them to go anywhere in 2027. They're clearly are doing great in trucks, but I think they need to keep doing that next year to really be in the conversation for 2028. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm saying the one guy out there from that list, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's probably Qualpa or Creed after next year if they don't make something happen, which sucks because Creed's I feel like he's made a jump this year, but
yeah,
where else do you go? I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, it gets tough for those guys, especially because, as you put in here, there's plenty of other names to keep an eye on, young prospects that are going to be forcing their way in sooner rather than later as well.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of background on a lot of these guys. I pulled a lot of these names from Bianchi's, the Parker. Like Parker's always puts out a list at the beginning of the year of like his 15 best prospects in the sport. Mm-hmm. Bianchi put out some names, but Luke Baldwin is one I think I've already mentioned, right? With Tommy, Luke has really solidified himself in the modified scene. I think he actually won a modified championship last year. I don't think he's running as well this year, but he's gotten sparse truck rides. I think Tommy's very, very much trying to find him a better ride. I think that he could be a good guy in the series. Another modified guy is Mike Christopher Jr. He was in the race for the seat. Competition. I don't know what I want to call that. I guess it's competition. Reality show. Yeah, there we go. Where I think he finished I think he got to that final round. Like I think he finished third or fourth. But again, a guy that I think he actually just won this past weekend in the modifieds. Like he continues to keep his name around. Max Reeves is a guy I don't know if you know a lot more about him, but he's a name that keeps coming up as he's signed as like a reserve driver for somebody, I think.
Yeah. So with Max Reeves, he's the son of the guy who owns or founded Cookout. So
that's
anytime he races, he's got Cookout on the JGR stuff. So he's right now, I feel like he's kind of in the same like William Sawalich kind of boat where he had the money to get the JGR ARCA stuff, still young enough that he can't run the big tracks, which is why Gio Ruggiero has stepped down to run some ARCA this year. I think next year he might be old enough to run the big tracks, maybe partway through the year. But he's one of those guys that I'm hands off on because, of course, a guy with some talent is going to win in the JGR car at the short tracks when he's up against, a bunch of at-home guys and maybe two other good cars. Jury's out on him, but he does seem to have, he's got the possibility of a bright future if he's able to keep it going. On the two guys you mentioned too, just so I'm not giving my thoughts on 9 guys at once. Also, I do appreciate that Tommy Baldwin leaving Rick Ware Racing. You got to give Luke Baldwin the opportunity to kind of, potentially get into better rides because I think he's run most of his races with Rayum, and they're not exactly the best team. Mike Christopher, a guy that seems to have a lot of potential, has gotten some rides in the 62 for Friesen and has done pretty well on them. Yeah, agreed. And just to touch one more thing on Reeves, I hope Seth watches this back because Seth, you need to try Cookout and change your thoughts on Cookout. And I am now a Reeves fan because of Cookout. So I'm just going to. So he's also he's at the point where he's in definitely a cocky kid stage too. Like he's won some races, and it's really been like oh, of course we were going to win. I'm the best guy out here, and I have the best car out here. So he's one of those guys that I'm excited for him to get to the higher levels. Because he's one of those guys that I think he'll only need to happen once or twice. He'll just need one of those ass kickings and put him into line, and we'll see if he has the talent to continue after that. He's one of the guys I'm excited to see.
Well, that makes me now out on him because I'm not a fan of the cocky guys. So never mind, I'm back out.
But again, the kid's 15? So if I was 15, my dad had a bunch of money. I'm in a Gibbs ARCA car and winning all the time. If that's all you know, that's all you know. I'll give the kid an opportunity to grow before I totally throw him in the trash. Is what I'm saying.
Totally fair. Okay. So a few other names that I have thrown out here. Keelan Harvick, I think, is the biggest one. Keelan has already been signed as a JGR. Actually, not a JGR, just a Toyota.
Yes.
What do they call it? Toyota development driver?
Toyota development. Yeah, Toyota Racing Development. They have a Toyota Gazoo Racing, whatever they're calling it. He's in that camp now.
Yeah, so that's a big one to keep your eye on. A guy that.
What's really funny about that is they were running Chevys. HendrickCars.com was sponsoring his stuff, and they're still on he and Kevin's cars when they're in Toyotas. That's kind of weird, but anyway.
Yeah, it was very weird that he's was very much. And then Harvick's a Ford guy. Well, I guess not. He wasn't Ford his whole career, but in his career as a Ford guy. and then has his kid in Chevys, and then he's switching to Toyota. So they're just hitting everything. But I do think that's the right move, though, because I think Toyota has the best development program. So
yeah, like he can be a guy in a Tricon truck and whenever he's old enough, and probably contend for the truck title at 18 or 19.
Agreed. Yep. Again, not a lot of guys I have a lot of notes on here, but Ethan Jeffrey, Jake Finch, and LeVar Scott were all mentioned on Pockrass's article. I know Jake Finch is in a few rides here and there. I think in ARCA, maybe on super speedways.
I know Jake. Oh yeah, go ahead. You finish, then I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I think LeVar is. I think he's the next like diversity driver that like NASCAR is kind of pushing, that they really want to see him do well. But I think I've heard good things about him. That like he sounds like he's a great kid. And then the last two is just the two hottest women in the sport. I probably shouldn't use the word hottest, but you know what I mean. The most women that are getting the most buzz, I guess is probably the word I should have used. But Isabel Robusto and Jada Avidizian is, I think, how you pronounce that. A lot of people are saying that these girls really have a lot of talent. They run a lot of late models. They've been getting their foot in the door. A lot of, I think Isabella runs the ARCA. What is that program? It's
So it used to be Venturini, and then Venturini sold to, I think it's called Nitro.
Nitro, that's it.
There.
Yes. Yep.
I'll go ladies first here. Robusto, really hot prospect, has run now in her second full year in ARCA and hasn't won. So at that point, you got to win races at that level, and she just hasn't done it yet. Jade Avedizian is much more green, just kind of starting on asphalt racing. Successful young dirt driver. I think has had some good runs at the Chili Bowl and stuff like that. Shout out Ryan and Dawn from Five Lug Racing. They were doing PR for her at Pocono. I don't know how extensive that is, if they're generally her PR always, or just were helping that weekend or whatever. She's someone that has a lot of potential. Again, still getting used even to the length of ARCA races in a race like Pocono. But she's somebody that I think has a lot more developing to do. With Isabella, I honestly think Lainey Bice has probably jumped her at this point. Lainey Bice has run in the 77 in ARCA a couple of times, has run second, has had some really good runs there, really solid on the Cars Tour. She may be the hottest and most ready to jump into a truck prospect out there in terms of the women in the sport. Either way, of course, all three of them have talent. Would love to see them get the opportunities as well. Keelan Harvick's a guy who, is one of those Cup champions in waiting. I don't remember if Kevin was still going to try to have him do stuff in Europe. I kind of think that ship has sailed. And he's a guy who, he and Brexton Busch, not even this generation, but the generation after that could be that next wave to go, when Heim has 2 titles and Hocevar has 3 of them, and Connor Zilisch has 3 of them as well. Then those are the guys who can take those guys out. Ethan Jeffrey, I've never heard of him in my life, so apologies to Ethan Jeffrey. But if Bob Pockrass knows you, that's more important than us knowing you. Jake Finch, you remember James Finch from Phoenix Racing, the 09 Mikusuki car with Keselowski winning in 09. That's his son. He's run some ARCA as well. Has had a couple of rides. I guess he's had 2 O'Reilly starts now. Ran Dover last year in the Hendrick 17. And then he was in the 9, if you remember, at Echo Park a couple of weeks ago. Crashed out twice in that race. But again, guy that seems like he's got some talent, has some money behind him, some old racing tradition. I think Darlington is his next race in the 9. I think he's got a couple more in the O'Reilly Chase, so we'll see how that goes. LeVar Scott is with Alpha Prime. I know Juson Hamilton was formerly one of the race directors in NASCAR, now is like team president of Alpha Prime, so that diversity link is what got him that. Alpha Prime only runs as well as Alpha Prime runs. Brendan Poole has a shot to win once in a while. They had Retzloff have some good runs last year. When Tommy Joe was in the seat, I remember him almost winning a stage at Richmond in 2021. But LeVar, he's done about as well as you can expect in an Alpha Prime car, which is mid-20s in points, a couple decent finishes. We'll see what the future is for him also.
Yeah, I was trying to do some quick research on his Ethan Jeffrey kid, and I legit can't find anything. So I'm wondering, did I just get got by Bob Pockrass? I don't know, but
Ethan.
Anyways,
Jeffrey. All right. Ethan Jeffrey. Did you type in racing at the end of your Google search? Ethan Jeffrey.
I
racing?
did. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm seeing some kid named Ethan Jeff Hall. I don't think that's it because he's a European karting guy. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, we'll figure out who Ethan Jeffrey is. Ethan Jeffrey, if you're in the comments, let us know. We'll see what happens over there. But my overall thoughts, and I've kind of said this throughout the whole of this, is that 27 and 28 kind of is the final inflection point for a couple of seats to change hands. And I think we're really going to end up in a point, kind of like how things were late 2000s, early 2010s, where your cup lineup is pretty set. Your rookie of the years are going to be a little uninteresting for a while, and you're really going to have your core 30 guys for about the next decade.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way because I know we talked about a lot of names tonight, but I don't think there's a ton of guys really knocking on the door to be like the next star once we get like Brent Cruz in the 11. Like after that, I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's until we get the Keelans, the Brextons, the whatever Jamie's kid's name is, Carter McMurray, right? We didn't talk about him.
We didn't talk about, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, until that next generation of guys comes up, it's hard to see anything change. But then again, you also never know though, because I feel like, I don't know, think back 3 or 4 years ago, like where did Heim even come from? Or where did there's another name I thought of too, like Zilisch. Where did Zilisch even come from, right? Like Brent Cruz, all these guys kind of came out of nowhere, at least from what we cover, right? Maybe they were bigger in small racing scenes. So you never know. I mean, somebody could pop up out of the blue, but it does seem like we're definitely getting this like next young generation to kind of take over, and then it's just going to stick this way until, as crazy as it sounds, right? Until like the Larsons, Elliots, Blaney's, until they're done, right? Then we're gonna have the next group of guys come in. So
that could be sooner than we think, tinfoil hat or not. And the funny thing about all this is maybe a third of the people we talked about in the prospects never make a cup start. I mean, you have some hot guys like, I don't know if you remember a gentleman by the name of Dillon Kwasanewski back like late, I think 2011 or something. Full, I guess back then it was a nationwide series, full nationwide season. I think Rockstar was the sponsor in the 30 for Turner. Didn't win a race, and you never heard from the kid again. So that's just the beauty of it.
Yeah. And you also hear like, I mean, even guys like that are into different things now, right? Like Connor Daly ran some NASCAR stuff. Justin Marks used to
he was in the race at IRP too, Connor Daly, this past week.
So there's guys that are flashing the pans that just go off and do other things too. So yeah.
Well, all right. Pleasure talking silly season with you. Of course, this is the Backroad. We do got to talk some bets before we wrap up. I do want to remind you, though, about the IBT Racing family. Free to join and gain access to the chat with all of us. It's a great time in there. Also free to enter memorabilia giveaways. We need to get Seth on a few of those. We've gotten a few micro giveaways. $3.99 a month or $36 for the year to get access to Chris's absolutely awesome betting model that he puts in work for every week. We appreciate that. And of course, the week you have off the betting model, I get you on here for a show that's going to run about 2 hours. So thank you for taking the time. And my power goes out and you have to do it yourself for 5 minutes. So we're really running this guy through the ringer, but hey, it helps us all make money and gets our bets better each and every week, helps our understanding of how guys are going to do at the races. Also in the paid tier, you get all of our full weekly betting cards and entry into the head-to-head matchups contest that we'll touch on at the end of this marathon as well. We've got some, we've had plenty of changes on the leaderboard. Unfortunately, Chris, we ran the show for the first half of the year and we no longer are running the show, but we'll get back. There's plenty of time. That $3.99 a month or $36 for the year gets you all of the benefits, not just the racing family, but the football family, the entertainment family, and the golf family as well. Free benefits, but also paid tiers to that. It is a great time over there in the IBT family. You can join for free at in-betweenmedia.com/chat or with the link in the episode description. And again, just that little bit a month gets you access to all the fun. Most fun, of course, your betting model, Chris.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate it. I truthfully, I love putting it together anyways. So it's so fun to kind of like look at all the numbers and look at all the stats as I'm putting it together. So I'm glad that others are finding it really useful to look at too, especially when it comes to making money, right? That's kind of what we're all here for.
Yeah. And in terms of making money, each and every week, of course, we can make money, but there's those season-long bets as well. We'll give you an update on how ours are doing in the parking garage props. So, of course, with Seth and I, we talk a lot about our betting styles being a little different. I'm the volume bettor and going to throw out a million bets. Seth is going to have a couple. You're more on the Seth side of that, just a couple of these that you're writing. You've added a few more, though. I'll start with the Cup Champion bets that I have. Of course, we won't know if any of these hit until we get to the end of the year. But right now, I have a Kyle Larson 6-1, Denny Hamlin plus 650, Ryan Blaney plus 937, and I feel pretty good about all those right now.
You should. You definitely should. I am definitely didn't have enough on Hamlin, and looking at all his prices, but yeah, preparing for the show, I was like, let me just go look, see what Hamlin's prices are. He's like plus 185, plus 200 now. And I was like, wow, I am not getting invested at that number. So I did get invested in another way, which we'll show shortly. But Yeah, I mean, this really feels like, I mean, that Larson ticket, I don't know how you feel about that, but you could always get a better price on Larson now if anyone out there has some faith in Larson. I think I've heard that he's floated out to like 11-1 in some places. But he also feels a little snake bitten. Actually, I threw in the Discord earlier that he's the cover for NASCAR 26, and it already feels like his curse has already started this year, a little early.
Right.
But yeah, Hamlin for sure. I mean, it feels like Reddick is kind of losing steam, and Hamlin is really picking up a lot of that steam. I just don't know where Hamlin is. I don't know where he's not going to be a favorite at, because we have no road courses left. So, like, I mean, you've got to be sitting pretty loving that ticket. And Blaney, I mean, I know Penske's had their struggles at the intermediates, but Blaney's been just as strong. Even when Penske's not good, he still somehow managed to get, an 8th, 7th place finish. So, yeah, you're definitely sitting in a better spot than I am. That's for sure.
Blaney's one of those guys too that definitely can go on a run. The Hamlin ticket, I forget when I got in on it. Hopefully at the beginning of the year, because he was a guy who I was on all year. Larson, it was a bonus bet, so if I lose it, it's not too bad.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, hey, with the number that you have on one of your guys, you can't be too mad about missing out on the Denny, because you've got a good one here in your title futures.
I do, yeah. So 2 of these were actually no, only one of these was preseason. That was Reddick. Reddick was 18-1. I took that preseason because I felt like the books were sleeping on him. I felt like last year was just a down year and he was going to bounce back, and he did, kind of, right? At the beginning of the year, he did.
In that immediately.
Yeah. At one point, I forget which book I have that on, but they were offering me a pretty hefty payout on that. But now they're not even offering me a cash out anymore because he's coming back down to earth. But yeah, either way,
that's one that's worth riding out, man. It really is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 18-1. He's going to be at least top 3 going into the chase. So I feel good about that one.
He's your driver too, right? So
yes.
I haven't for as many good memories as Alex has given me. I've never had him in a legit like title run. He's come sort of iffy, close-ish, maybe kind of a couple times. Reddick's one of the 3 favorites. So
yeah, and it's more exciting now than it was, because as a Reddick guy, I knew he was never going to win Phoenix. He's god awful at Phoenix, even though he won this year randomly. But regardless, right? I got the Reddick one. That one's fun for sure. I'm also in on Blaney, shorter number, but I got on him. I forget which race that. It might have been right before Atlanta, actually, because I just kind of thought he might go out and win Atlanta and just get shorter. So I just snagged it while I could. But I think he's still in the 7-1 range, if I'm not mistaken, like 6-7 range. But a guy that, I mean, we've seen it. Like, he also is another guy that doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses. And he's very capable of just getting hot at the right time. So definitely still like the Blaney ones. I'm glad we're aligned there. And then Ty Gibbs, honestly, that was just a floater on Kalshi. He got off to 30-1. With how he's running, I just thought that was way, way too long. Do I think he can actually win the championship? I don't know. Probably not. But he's going to be probably top 5 in points going into the chase. So It's going to be a fun sweat regardless, just to kind of have that. And maybe I'll get a cash out opportunity at some point. Any thoughts on this before I jump into the other 2?
The Blaney were in lockstep. We already talked about the Reddick, and Ty Gibbs 30-1. He's 4th in points. So surprising as Hocevar was, Gibbs is one of those guys that, I think he and Hocevar in the chase, the veterans, the guys who've done this before, and even including Reddick in that now as well. This is the first time the 54 and the 77. We don't have a bet on him. I'm just keeping him in because they're kind of in the same spot. First wins this year. First time they've really been legit all year. I think that the pressure and how the chase goes is going to kind of bite them in the rear end. Come next year, if I can get these numbers on, a Ty Gibbs, I'd love it. But guys, in terms of winning the title, Gibbs with a cash out though, that could be Seth always angles for the cash outs. When we get, what's the first race of the chase is going to be Darlington. Gibbs has a really good Southern 500. You could be getting a really, really good cash out offer on that, and I probably would take it.
Yeah. And Kalshi's actually already offering me like a very small cash out, but I'm just holding out just a little bit longer.
Sure. So. Yeah, we'll find out how the Kalshi odds work for cash outs and stuff. This is the first year we're all going through it together as a betting community.
Yep. All right. So the other 2, I clicked these today actually, mainly because one, I'm jealous that Elliot has Denny Hamlin and I don't, and I don't want to miss out on the FOMO because if there's any year Denny's going to do it, I think it's got to be this year. He is just lighting the world on fire. I think this format fits into his wheelhouse. So I'll get into how I played Hamlin in a minute. But the one that I'm really more excited to talk about tonight is actually Christopher Bell. He was the most intriguing to me when I looked at the odds board just because he's fallen to 12-1 at I took that one at Fanatics, I believe is where I got that one. But really where I'm most intrigued by Chris Bell is the next 3 weeks. Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire. Those are right in his wheelhouse. He could easily win one, if not two of those. And I think these odds could be slashed in half.
We've seen him win 3 in a row. He very well could do that too.
Yeah. JGR hasn't been the greatest at Iowa, so I don't know if Iowa will be the one, but Richmond and New Hampshire, I think, are fully in play. Now, with that being said, he is sitting 10th in points. So I could see how people would think like, oh, he's too far down the points. However, if you look at 5th through 10th in points, they are separated by 27 points. He could jump from 10th to 5th in these next 3 races. And Denny, I think Denny, a lot of the media in general has talked about, if you really want to be in contention for this chase, you've got to be in the top 6. I think Christopher Bell can really do that. And I don't think this 12-1 is going to last if he wins 1 or 2 of these races in this next 3 races. And to further that point, I know Christopher Bell, he's kind of in the same game as Larson, where it just feels like he's cursed. He feels like he's jinxed. He kind of steps on it when he's got the speed. But that's the thing. He's had the speed. Like, he is not much further behind the Reddicks, the Hamlins, the Gibbs, as far as when it comes to speed. He's been right there, if not faster than these guys at some of these races. We've got a ton of intermediates that fit in his wheelhouse as we get down the line here. Not to mention, the last few races, Phoenix, Martinsville, Homestead, I think also fall in his wheelhouse. So I like this one a lot to jump in here. I don't know if you have any thoughts to add, but I just think this is the pivotal point where if you want to do it, it's got to be now.
Yeah, I think you picked the right time because you're right. Him winning one of the next 3 races would surprise nobody. Him winning 2 out of the 3 would not surprise anybody. And I didn't realize 5 through 10 is that close. So as much as he's kind of played the woe is me card, oh, I'm 10 to the points, I need to be top 6. I'm not going to, it's going to be real tough. He could put himself in that conversation by the time we get to Daytona before we even start the chase. And, I like your added numbers. I like you're doing this, that, and the other. In this parlay that you've got all the champions, I feel like. So go ahead and let everybody know what that is. As I'm surprised this is that good of a number too.
Yeah, so you won't get this number in every book. I tried to build this first I think I tried it at DK, I tried it at Caesars, I tried it at MGM. It was like 9, 10, 11 to 1. I just happened to go over to FanDuel and build it, and it came out to be 18 to 1, and I just quickly clicked it and ran away before it changed. So yeah, I've got Denny Hamlin, Justin Allgaier, Lane Riggs, all 3 champions at a parlay at 18 to 1. I feel really good about Hamlin and Allgaier at that price. Riggs, who knows with the Truck Series? I feel like he's probably the favorite, but I think Honeycutt could make a run there. I think Chandler Smith could make a run there. So that one's a little bit more iffy, but hey, they're the 3 hottest guys in each of their sports. I think Allgaier is going to lock up his championship like 5 races in at the place he's going right now. This is really just a way to get invested on Denny if you don't. Truthfully, like, you don't play the 2 to 1. Please, dear God, don't play the 2 to 1. Have some fun with it. This was just my way of having fun with it. We're not going to have that. Like, I always loved building the championship parlay for the Phoenix races the last few years because it was kind of fun because it was like winner take all, and you get a lot better odds and you can have a lot of fun with it. This is just a way to do it early before the chase starts and kind of get a fun run on these guys. So that's just my suggestion if you don't have any Denny exposure yet.
Yeah, and these are your guys. I mean, Hamlin, realistically, 4 guys who can compete with him for the title. Larson, Elliott, Bell, maybe past that, I don't know. Allgaier and O'Reilly, I got nothing. Yeah. And then Riggs, if it's going to be a front row car, it's going to be Riggs, so I don't even buy the Chandler Smith argument. I think it's Riggs or Honeycutt, and it's been Riggs' world right now, and we're just living in it.
Yeah, the only reason I brought up Chandler is because actually on the books actually have Chandler as the second favorite. I don't know if just because front row's running so well right now, but they actually have him shorter than Honeycutt. But I think we've seen what that 11 car's capable of, or truck's capable of. So I don't think Lane is a for sure write it in yet, but still fun to play that one.
Yeah, and with Honeycutt, I almost have the same argument I do with Gibbs and Hocevar that, he's gotten too frustrated at times lately. I feel like there's just going to be situations where he's going to shoot himself in the foot. And I think Corey Heim is running like half the truck chase races. So it'll be Heim's going to win. Honeycutt is going to think he should win. He'll get all angry about it. And I don't know. I think Honeycutt with his racing has put himself more on the map, but then with his attitude sometimes is kind of, it's kind of a net even. So
yeah.
Anyway, we're talking Cup here. Season win totals is where we're going to go next. Or I'm sorry, I want to bring up Jamie's comment here because we're talking about all these guys, and it's probably going to be Logano again. Even your Logano heating up. No, it'll be a shock for him to even make the chase, honestly. But he's put himself in position. So, all right, season win totals here. I've got like 10 of these. Thankfully, I've already cashed 3 of them. Hocevar over half a win plus 110. He won Dega. Gibbs over half a win plus 140. He won Bristol. Kyle Busch, I had the over half a win. That was voided. That was a plus 160. So I'm going to call that a cash because I was able to keep the stake. The only one I'm definitely lost on so far, I had Chase Elliott under a win and a half plus 120. He has 2, so that one's out. But the jury is still out on the other 6 that I've got. I have Ryan Blaney over 2.5 at plus 120. He's got 2. Austin Dillon over half a win plus 180. Richmond's right around the corner. Richmond, Daytona, Talladega. Those are his shots. I have Byron over 3.5 at even money. That's probably my worst Cup one because he has nothing. I have Bowman over half a win minus 160. That one's pretty bad too. He's got nothing. Logano under 1.5 plus 140. That's going to be a sweat because he's got 1. I don't think he gets another, so hopefully that cashes. And then I have the Zilisch over half a win minus 125. He's got nothing. So we'll see how those ones all turn out. I know you have one of those as well. Feel free to give any thoughts on any of the others also.
Yeah. So I guess I'll talk about the one that I do have is SVG under 3.5 wins at plus 130. I jumped on that as soon as we got the news that the Roval was no more the Roval. It was the Oval. I kind of beat the books to that one. Yeah. However, I was really just banking on SVG not winning one, which happened. One road course, that is, which happened. So I feel good. However, SVG is running so well recently. It's made me more nervous than I expected to be because, like, he's knocking on the door on Oval.
I guess under 3, I guess you have 2. You have room for an extra, not just one. I bet you were really sweating Wilkesboro, but you have room even if he does pull off the impossible.
Yes, for sure. And actually, I didn't have this one written down because, man, I swear I looked through all my books earlier. I don't think I saw this one, but I thought I also bet the Zilisch over. If I didn't, I was very loud in the fact that I wanted to bet that. So I know that doesn't look great right now with how he's running, but I mean, I think we all expected him to win a road course, and it just didn't happen. So. Let's see, what else do I want to comment on? I think Blaney, I think that one should cash pretty easy. I think I would feel good about that if I were you. Austin Dillon, you're right. Like, Richmond's coming. And Super Speedways, he's always wide open to. Byron's probably dead. Yeah, Bowman, I know we said Bowman, like, I know you're not feeling great about Bowman, but again, no stress. He can just go out there and have fun. So, like, you never know. Like, they don't care about points. They're not going to make the chase. Like, they can just do what they want, right? Like,
think about Richmond last year. If they hadn't had Noah Gragson essentially hit the brakes in front of them on that last run, and SVG unfortunately was just running his line, which also was Bowman's line, he probably catches Austin Dillon and they make a fight of it at Richmond.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think Bowman's as dead as you think it is. Like, and I'm also boosting you up a little bit because you're a fan here, but I also just don't think it's dead.
I'm the inverse. That's why I think it's more dead because I don't want to put don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
The Logano one though, I know that you seem like you feel very confident about that one, but I'd be a little nervous about Logano only because we still have Gateway. I think Gateway is a Penske track. Iowa has been good to Penske, and then the Super Speedways. I mean, Joey is always open. I mean, at the Super Speedways, I know he's kind of checker records, but I think he's kind of always going to be nervous at those tracks. So you should be safe, but I wouldn't be feeling great about that one. So yeah.
So then I have a couple of matchups as well. And it's nice because all 3 of them, I have all 3 sides of the spectrum here. I've got the one that's almost certain. Bubba Wallace over Josh Berry minus 200. As soon as the chase starts, I can lock that one in because Bubba's in, probably, and Berry's not. So that one's almost certain minus 200. That was one at the beginning of the year that I was like, this is a slam dunk. I don't know why the books have this one up. Thankfully, it's going to cash. Then I have Denny Hamlin over Kyle Larson plus 110. That one very well could come down to Homestead, and I'm excited for that. And then I also had the 48 of Bowman over the 17 of Buescher minus 110. That one is dead unless I don't want Chris Buescher to miss any races. That's the only way this bet hits, though. So I got one that's certain, one that's done, and one that's going to come down to the wire. So I really am cutting out even here, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. The 11 over 5, though, I think, like, especially at plus 110, that's kind of crazy to see now, isn't it? Like, looking back, like
that was a preseason bet that I was like, Larson's fine. I think Denny's better at a plus money number.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, anytime you see plus money on the elite guys, you just kind of have to take it because you just never know. So yeah, that'll be really, really fun to watch over the course of the chase. But with how Hendrick's been running, you would kind of hope that's a lock for you too. So yeah. I like it.
That'll be a fun fall sweat for sure. I didn't even bring up my matchups graphic here with Denny Hamlin with the progressive headset on. Long show. We'll get through the lower series bets. I have a Jesse Love title bet at 5-1. Don't really love it, but it's possible. Preseason, I also did put a little bit on a Raja Karuth 65-1. I'm rarely fully transparent about unit share. I will admit I bet 55 cents on that, and I cashed out and I got 25 cents back, and I consider that one a win. Win totals bets that I have: Sam Mayer under 1.5 wins plus 130. He's got none, so feeling all right about that. Brandon Jones under 1.5 at even money. He's got the 1. I'm going to be really, really sweating that out at the 1.5 miles. And then I lost the Sheldon Creed under half a win plus 150. Good for him. I've probably never been happier to lose a bet. He was due for a win, and he finally got one. On the truck side, I've got Honeycutt at 5-1, Christian Eckes at plus 650 for the title. I've been kind of looking for a way to cash out on the Eckes. It's not really there. Honeycutt, I'm fine riding. Should have got in on Riggs. I think Seth has a couple Riggs tickets. Win totals, I think they're they're mostly going good for me. Gio Ruggiero, under 1.5 wins at plus 150. He's got 0. Ty Majeski, under 2.5 wins at plus 110. He's got 0. Brendan Queen, over 1.5 plus 140. He's got 0. That one's pretty bad. And then Daniel Hemrick, under 1.5 wins minus 140. He's got 0. So on the truck side, as bad as the Queen one looks, the other 3 probably certain hitters.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the Queen one, like, hey, you might just be the biggest Queen fan ever when you're at Richmond, because, like I said, I still have hope that they're going to find something. And if they do, it's going to be a short track for Queen, like if they do find something. So, yeah, I mean, I think we all expected more from Ram to begin the season, but maybe we all should have known better, being it was the first time of manufacturers coming back into the sport. So it's a little egg in the face for a lot of us, because I think we all had higher hopes.
Yeah, but hey, it is what it is. You're right, though. They might be sporty over there at Richmond. All right, so before we finish up, we have to update you on the head-to-head matchups contest from last week. And unfortunately, fortunately for you guys, unfortunately for me, who wants that plaque on the back wall here, Blaze Wolf, CJ, and Eric Larson are still tied at the top. They both hit and now have 14 points. I am at 13. Chris, you are at 12 with Blurry Kyle. Seth, in all of the ruckus of the Fantasy Football Expo, did not submit a matchup, wasn't on the show last week either. So he is down at 10. He's got some work to do. And we're in it, man. We're still in it. But Blaze Wolf, CJ, and Eric Larson doing very well.
Yeah, no, they've been doing really. They've been on a heater, I feel like, and they keep finding these matchups that as soon as they posted in there, I'm like, wow, that's a good one. I wish I would have seen that. So props to them. I don't know what's going on with me. I've lost my entire mojo. I have no confidence. I am just on a downward spiral. So I hope to stay in the hunt here, but you guys have all surpassed me for sure.
Yeah, I think all it is regression to the mean, because you were really kicking our ass in the first half of the year, and there's still another run left in us. We're not out of this just yet, I feel like.
I hope not. I've never been a matchup guy, though. I don't know if I've said that before on here. I don't bet a lot of matchups, so I was shocked myself that I was doing that well to begin with. So you're right. This is regression to the mean for sure, because I normally am very bad at them. So
the chase is going to be exciting, and it's going to be something that comes down to it. All right, hey, it's an off week, and we threw out a marathon show for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, apologies for me blipping out for a minute with the power. We kind of went through anything and everything, man. But if you have any final thoughts, go ahead and fire them off here before we wrap up.
No, I don't think I do. I mean, I had a whole note sheet here that I was trying to look through, but I think we covered everything that I wanted to. I appreciate you guys waiting on me to have my comeback be the silly season episode, because I do just love silly season talk. So if anybody has any comments after you guys watch this of maybe other hey, we like the tinfoil hat ideas. If you have a tinfoil hat idea, throw them in the comments. Hit us up in Discord. Like, we love those kind of things. I personally I just love talking silly season, even though a lot of it's probably already figured out for next year. We can still just talk about what we would want to happen. So I never get tired of that. But yeah, otherwise, had fun tonight, Elliot, and yeah, excited to get back in the grind next week. Get the model going for Iowa, right? Is that where we're heading? Iowa. So
yep. Iowa is next up. I agree with you. I love talking the silly season, and with the way the year is going, it's going to be about the last time we have to do it till the winter. On the Cup side, just 4 more races until the chase for the Cup begins. Next week, it is the Iowa Speedway. Thanks again for rolling on down the back road with us, and we will see you then.